I call the Board of City Commissioners meeting to order February 4th, 2008. Call roll, please.
Stevens.
Here.
Schran.
Here.
O'Neill.
Here.
Mills.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Peterson.
Here.
Holt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Can we announce the invocation?
Is Tim here? All right.
Yes.
We have our invocation tonight by our good friend, Reverend Tim Humans from First Baptist Church. All who wish to, please rise.
Let us pray. My God, on behalf of all people, of all faiths in our community, tonight we reach out and we recognize you and your place in our lives. We particularly on this night want to pray for all who work for our city, for the service that they give, for their families, for their friends, that you would bless them and give them what they need to succeed. We do pray for this agenda tonight that our City Commission is going to be looking at, and we recognize that each item has a story that involves the lives of people in this town. So teach us in these moments and guide us with your Spirit to do this, to care for one another in these things. It's to this end that we pray, and I pray this in Christ's name. Amen.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, position, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, Tim. Thanks for covering for me, Linda. Sure. Sorry I was late. Okay. Number 1, consider approval of agenda.
I would like to make a motion that we move items 16 and 17 up closer to the front.
In a particular order.
After 5.
After 5. Okay.
Second.
Any other changes?
Need to pull item 13, right?
Right.
Staff's not ready on this one yet. Item 13, consider discrimination. We'll bring it back.
Anything else? Would you accept that as a...
Yes, I will.
Okay. Tom? Accept that change? Pull 13
Yes.
also? Okay. We have a motion by Vice Mayor Peterson, a second by Commissioner Schran. Call roll, please.
Peterson.
Aye.
Schran.
Aye.
O'Neill. Aye. Mills.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, number 2, consider approval of consent agenda.
I'd like to pull B for discussion, please.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. I'd like to move number 5 ahead of citizens' participation.
That was on approval.
That we've already done the approval of agenda. This is just for the consent, so...
Okay, I'll withdraw.
Yeah.
Thought you were going to pull something on
That's
consent.
right. Yeah.
You threw me there for a minute. It's a test, wasn't it? Okay, just B.
Just B.
Just be.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the balance.
Okay. Motion by Vice Mayor Peterson, second by Commissioner O'Neill. Call roll, please.
Peterson.
Aye.
O'Neill. Aye. Mills.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Schran.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, 2B.
This is the item with the transfers for the $125,000 infrastructure project for Vanguard stimulation. And last meeting, I think I pulled it off the consent to defer to this meeting. And I believe everybody has a copy of an email from Marion McMillan, who's the chair of the SEDF board, acknowledging that the SEDF has decided not to pursue the EDA grant because of a timing issue, and the SEDF did vote unanimously to provide the funds that the EDA grant would have provided, the $275,000. So the project is still a go, but it's not with an EDA grant. And previously, we had approved the $125,000 as a match to the EDA grant.
All right, contingent upon.
That's right. In our paperwork on, I think it's our page 19, still up in the middle where it talks about appropriations, it says industrial development contract, match for state economic development grant for Vanguard. So, okay, so we need to change that because it won't be a match to an EDA grant. So, guess it would have to be the appropriation of funds for the infrastructure project for Vanguard Stimulation Services.
Okay.
I have a question on that. Do we have to make a new motion? Not at this meeting, but at the next meeting?
We have to make it at this meeting so that it is $125,000 provided for the infrastructure project for Vanguard, not as a match to an EDA grant.
But
For-
as of now, it says it's contingent upon the EDA grant. You want to
Yeah.
remove the contingency.
Right.
That's correct. That's correct.
And SEDF has pledged the grant money was what, 250,000 that supposedly would have been applied for? They're going to
207.
make that up. And they're getting 250 from the state. That's 5. And they're getting 75 from SIA. That's 575.
That was part of the 275 that the SEDF pledged to put into the project in replacement of the EDA grant. Part of the plan was to approach other entities for a contribution so that SEDF did not have to use $275,000. So my understanding is the SIA will provide $75,000. At this point, the SEDF will provide $200,000.
Okay, I'm trying to do the math here as we go. 250 from the state, 200 from SEDF, 75 from SIA. That's 5.25, right? Out of what do they need?
650.
Right.
Okay, so that's where our
125.
125 comes from.
Yes. Yes.
I guess that makes sense.
Well, it's still, I think it's still an estimate too, so.
Well, why did, refresh my memory, why did we jump into that? I believe the last meeting you split it up between 2 different funds, right?
And that's still in here.
That's still going to apply?
Yes, if you approve it the way it is right here.
Well, what's your recommendation?
And my recommendation is to do it this way. Of the $650,000 project, a portion was for streets and a portion was for water and sewer improvements.
All considered
And-
infrastructure.
Infrastructure, that's right.
Okay.
And not knowing what was going to be paid for what, I just took the total for streets divided by the total project, the total for water and sewer divided by the total project, and use those percentages over our $125,000. Does that make sense? Right or wrong? I didn't know what else to do. So that it didn't all come out of one fund or another.
Okay, that answers my question.
Okay.
Okay. So the
So
motion
your
would...
motion with that change?
would be to approve this transfer with the change in wording so that we take out the economic development grant match wording in here,
Okay.
okay? And put in as a contribution to the infrastructure project for Vanguard Stimulation Services. Quick question. Yep.
This is an estimate. on the 650. So who's going to be responsible if we go over the 650? Is that going to fall back on SEDF to come up with the money out of the rest of the land proceeds that SEDF received as a result of the sale of the land to Vanguard? Or are we going to come back to the city and ask for more money later?
That's a good question. That would be, the decision on that would be up to the SEDF. What we're deciding on is 100 and a quarter, and that's staff recommendation
Right.
that we stop there.
That staff recommendation will be that we stop at
Yeah,
125?
100 and a quarter.
Okay.
According to the Vanguard executives, they didn't ask for any help in the first place, and it sounded like they were more than willing to pay for it themselves. And so if they do go over, they may just pull out their own pocket, so just like us.
But again, that would be an SEDF discussion.
Okay. So, motion by Vice Mayor Peterson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Young. Call roll, please.
Peterson,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Schramm,
Aye.
O'Neill, Mills.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to number 3, citizens' participation. Okay. Ms. Janetta? You sign in, please?
Yes. I was not present when you all had reconvened at the last City Hall meeting, so I want to extend my thanks to the council for reinstating Candy Sweeney to her job. Special thanks to Commissioner Schranz for taking a bold stand at that last City Hall meeting.
I always take a bold stand.
Well, my concern right now is that I know Candy is going to have some challenges when she go back to her job, but there's still an open issue here that concerns me. And that is, we have a police chief who have committed a felony here. And I would like to know, how is this board going to deal with that issue? I also want to bring to the board's attention that last year, this council agreed to 3 ordinances that Shawnee's police chief presented, and I have these ordinances right here. And those ordinances read as ordinances 2300 NS, Section 1, and it talks about no person shall knowingly make or file a cause to be made or file a false misleading report or misrepresentation, allegation, or complaint with the police department or any officer or employee of the city or on any official application, or to commit perjury before any tribunal of the city. The second ordinance is 2298 NS, states resisting public officials. Section 20-40, it is unlawful for any person knowingly or willfully to resist, oppose, obstruct the chief of police and any other police officer, the municipal judge, and any other officer or employees of the city in discharge of their duties, threatened or otherwise intimidate or attempt to intimidate any officer or employee from the discharge of his or her official duties. Then we have the other ordinances that's dealing with a person that shall be guilty of disorderly conduct if with the intent of cause public inconvenience, annoyance, alarm, or reckless creating the risk thereof. And it goes on and on and on. And it goes into the areas of endangerment, angry threats, and abusive conducts. And these are the 3 ordinances that this board had approved last year. And I want to state that our very own police chief have broken these ordinances. And at the time that he was breaking them, I think it was at our neighborhood watch meeting. And I specifically asked the question directly to our police chief. I said, sir, are these new laws only subject to the citizens of Shawnee, or are they applicable to everyone who lives in the city of Shawnee? And his response to me was that these ordinances are applicable to everyone who lives in the city of Shawnee. Now, if it's applicable, then let's apply these ordinances, these very ordinances that you all agree that should become a law in this city. But now, If these ordinances are no good and nothing's going to be done with the police chief who's broken these ordinances, then we need to do away with all of them. And anyone else who's been found guilty and have been arrested or charged, they ought to be set free. Let's let justice be done. The law is the law. It's either going to work for everybody or it's going to work for nobody. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Jim's going.
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
Can't reach the sign-ins. I've got a problem.
Let me get a microphone to you. Please.
I have a problem with the commission. Seems like we come up, we got an excellent salesman. His good speech about $75, and he was good. He had everything down good. The last time I heard somebody do something like that was Rainbow Action Painter and some lake talk. Now, we're fixing to come up, we're going to spend another $10,000. Whoopee! Object. In a big way. Spend that $10,000. Every one of you will be responsible. Every one of you is going to be in the newspaper. Because that very job has been volunteered for. 10 years ago, I came before the commission. First time I ever heard the word transition plan. And 8, 9 years, we never heard of that. Over and over and over. Don't listen. I volunteered then, and since, and now, to do the transition plan for you. I've got the information. Don't spend $10,000. I'm not going to do it all for yourself. $10,000 plan is to be helped. What you want to do.
I assume you're talking about the contract labor.
Exactly.
Or item number 11, maybe.
11. Okay. Oh, okay.
See.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, moving on to, not sure what happened before, but 5, City Manager's presentation to Employee of the Month, Lisa Brownell with the Human Resource Department.
I always forget to unwrap these things. Lisa is our personnel assistant and has been with us how long?
About 10 months.
About 10 months. She's our Employee of the Month. She holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Oklahoma and an associate from Seminole State. She's been involved in a variety of aspects in HR for a number of years. She's married, has 3 daughters, and they're very active in their church. She's done, frankly, a terrific job, and it's great to be able to present her this with the Employee of the Month.
Thank you.
So, there you go.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Thank you.
She does an awesome job. Appreciate having you. Okay, so we're going to jump to 16 now. Okay. Consideration and possible action to enter into executive session to discuss status of negotiations with the IUPA Local Number 3 for a collective bargaining act for FY 2007-2008 and for confidential communications with legal counsel regarding potential settlement of the collective bargaining act agreement with IUPA Local Number 3. Thereunder, upon advice of legal counsel, that public disclosure would impair the ability of the public body to act on such matters in the public interest. All is authorized by 25 OS 307 B2 and 4. Okay.
I would like to make a motion that we do not go into executive session. I want to discuss this.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion not to go into executive session by Vice Mayor Peterson, a second by Commissioner Strand. Any other discussion?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Blake.
I think there are some, maybe some misconceptions about what happens in executive session for the public. And I think we're at a point right now where everything with the contract, with the city's stance on what their last best offer was and what the union's last best offer was, all that's out and that's in the public. And while we have been encouraging probably both sides to continue to negotiate so that we can have a contract and we can get on with business, if that's what's going on, I think it's time that we just talk about where we are with some of that right now. You know, we've talked about ballot language. We've discussed, you know, where we are with that. And I mean, I don't think there's anything secret at this point. And if we have something else, I mean, if there's a recommendation to take, you know, to the union, then I think we need to discuss it out here.
I agree.
Well, yeah, and this is the city's business. And the city's not just all of us sitting up here, it's everybody sitting out there. So now it's time to talk about the city's business openly.
Some things you can and some things you can't. This one we can.
And this one we can, and I think it's time.
This is the copy of the agreement that was offered to us at executive session. It's public record, correct?
That's correct.
Everybody here can read it, can listen to us talk about it, as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. Okay, other discussion? Call roll, please.
Do we have a second? Oh, I'm sorry. Peterson,
Aye.
Schran,
Aye.
O'Neill,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. We going to have a, you going to do that?
Yeah, next one.
Yeah.
We don't have to do 17.
No, we really have to do 17, do we?
No.
Let's see. Because we didn't go into executive session.
But you can give us
But
an
we still have to
overview.
have a presentation.
But we,
We
yeah.
still have recommendations, right? According to 16.
So if there's still a presentation of some kind, we can hear it here and now instead of going into executive session. Correct?
That's what we just decided.
Okay, that's what we're doing right now.
Okay.
Okay, we don't go into, 17 is action.
So who's carrying the
For
ball?
an item.
Matt, you carrying the ball? Or are you blocking?
Have you already
Wait,
handed that out,
okay.
Chief? Have you already handed that out? Okay. You have in front of you a document that
Hey,
I'd
Jim,
like to hit
will you
some
pull
of
that
the-
microphone down just a little bit? Thanks.
Okay. How's that?
Better.
You have in front of you a document that I'd like to work through in the spirit of continuing to try to bring a resolution to this. I would like to make the following suggestions or proposals. I want to start by stating that the city staff is still very comfortable with the original proposals as submitted and adopted. However, in order to move the police department forward in the city as well and get on with city business, I would like for you to consider the following. That on Article 6, Section 16, this is the section that deals with the membership on the review board, that the city allow the outside member to remain and accept the union's position. On Section 23, still within Article 6, this is the section that deals with the court reporter, and I'm recommending that we go ahead and keep the court reporter. Okay? On Section 35 in Article 6, this is the section that speaks to the 48 hours on notification. The city has recommended before that it be 5 days. I would ask that you consider dropping that to 3 business days. All right. Article 37, still within, Section 37, still within Article 6. This has to do with returning equipment, and that we're recommending that we leave the language, the prior language, the language that states upon reinstatement to full duty, the officer shall have the above items returned to his or her possession. That is the union's position, and I'm recommending that we accept that.
In other words, you're striking 37 in its entirety.
We're simply agreeing with,
Okay.
to take the union's position to leave the language as it is. Okay. Going to Article 20, this is the one on health insurance. We are in agreement with, I recommend that we accept the union's position on this, and to leave the premium contribution language as it is, and we can talk about that. Okay. And we can go back over these and certainly answer any questions. Article 22 has to do with the incentive pay for firearms. We are willing to go ahead and plug the gap. There's a gap for officers that score between or 91 to 94. That's reasonable. We will allow for that. However, we believe that the city's proposal should stand as to the current standards and not accept the union's proposal to lower the cutoff for the marksmanship incentive from 85 to 80, and not agree with the union position to lower the cutoff from the sharpshooter incentive from 95 to 92. Okay, we're almost through. Wages. The city's position as of this moment was 7%. The union position was 7.2. This is Article 24 on wages. I'm recommending that we go to the 7.2. Go ahead and pay the 7.2. Okay. And two more. Article 28. This is the position of corporal. The union's proposal was no change to the contract, which in essence says that an officer, patrol officer, needs to be in grade for 7 years. The city's position is that we should drop that to 4 years. We recommend that that stay at 4 years. The city's position stay at 4 years. Okay. Now then finally, and I'm throwing a lot at you right now, but we can discuss it. That's the reason we're here. Finally, on the vehicle policy, which is Article 30, the union's proposal is that all officers that were assigned to take home the unit as of June 30th, 2007 shall continue to be allowed to take home the unit and shall not be held to the 11-mile radius. We are recommending that we stay at our proposal, which is that there will be no exceptions to the 11-mile limit, 11-mile radius, except as approved by the Chief of Police for special assignments. Further, I'm recommending that this be time specific to around 9 o'clock on Thursday morning, and that you consider a special city commission meeting at 9 a.m. on Thursday morning in the event that we can come to terms and accept a collective bargaining agreement. The reason for that is so that we can forego the election if the union accepts this.
In other words, you expect a response from the police union by Thursday.
I don't know that I really have any expectations. I'm simply stating
Will you still
that
call a meeting if there is no response?
we go ahead and set the meeting because we have notice requirements. We can simply, if the union does not accept this, then we don't need to have the meeting. Or if they have a counter, at least it gives us the opportunity to consider that. My motive here again is, if we can, showing good faith on our part to try to resolve this along these lines. And that is my proposal as a city manager. And the chief is in agreement with this, as is our attorney, and we stand ready to answer any questions.
So there's a total of, was it nine parts to this?
Is that right? I didn't count them, but okay. I believe that's about right.
And we are conceding on how many of those?
If you want me, I could go ahead and do this again so everybody didn't miss
I didn't do a
one.
tally mark here. Sorry.
Would you like me to go through it again? This is important stuff.
Right now.
Not all of those that you mentioned had concessions attached. Some of them were.
That's correct. We were essentially holding firm on 3, I believe that.
Complete concession on, my count's right, complete concession on 5, compromise on 1, and holding on
Could you
believe
take
that's
that
right.
approach, give us the
Yeah.
ones that,
Sure, okay, that concession is Article 6, Section 16, which is keeping the outside member on the review board. So we would concede that point, okay?
you're conceding that?
Conceding that point. Article 6, Section 23, the reporter. We would concede that point as well and keep the court reporter. Okay?
Which one was that? 23?
Yes, it's Article 6, Section 23. Staying in Article 6, Section 35, this is the compromise. The union is to keep the language as is, which is 48 hours. Our position right this minute was 5 days, and we're recommending we drop that to 3 business days. So that's a compromise.
That's a compromise.
Compromise, yes, sir. Article 6, Section 37, and this we concede that point as well. Right? Yeah. Okay. Article 20, health insurance, we concede that as well. Okay. Article 22 on the firearms incentive, depends on how you view this. We are going to plug the gap on the scores from 91 to 94, but we believe that we should not concede the performance standards. We should not lower the standards per the union's proposal.
So you're holding firm, no
Holding
compromise,
firm.
no concession?
Not on this point, no, sir.
What is the plug the gap from
Yeah.
91 to 94?
If you look at it, and Chief, you can speak to this directly.
The way it's set up right now, if you miss one round, you're entitled to an incentive, which is 4 points on the round. But if you miss 2 rounds, the way it's set up right here under the old standard, it doesn't pay an incentive from 90 to 94. Does that make sense? So we're going to plug the gap where, yes, she would receive that incentive. We're going to still leave it the same from everything from 100 to 85. Anything within that range would be entitled to an incentive.
So essentially, more police officers would be receiving incentive pay, possibly,
Possibly,
depending upon how they fire.
depending how they fire, but we haven't lowered basically the standard. In other words, it's truly an incentive program where they receive, where it's right now, it's broken down into 2 pay areas where we have 15% and then we have 95 and above where it's 25 cents on the incentive. So we're just plugging that gap in the middle, which is just makes sense.
It does make sense. It was just
It was an oversight.
There was incentive for one level, and there was incentive for another level, but there was a gap between the 2 levels.
There was a hole in the
And
contract language.
If you fell in the gap, then you didn't get either incentive. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so that's really
This-
cleaning up issue.
This is based on the new mutual agreement of 25 rounds.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's, the 25-round course is something we didn't set. That's something that CLEAT, the Council on Law Enforcement Education and Training,
Well, it
that's
was more
their new
difficult
course.
to reach 85% at 25 rounds than it would 20
Not
rounds.
not on this particular course. I shot the course 5 times myself, and I think it's an easier course. And of course, that's why we have incentive, because we want them to do well in firearms, and we give them rounds too, 100 rounds a month to practice.
And just by way of clarification, during the negotiation process, the crux of the discussion was about moving to the CLEAT course, and then there was a discussion about whether the course was harder or not, or whether it was easier or the same. The issue with the gap didn't come up till the arbitration hearing, when all of a sudden we realized that there was a gap there. It was always the city's position to maintain the standards. There hasn't been an agreement on going to a 25-round course. There's been an agreement on going to whatever the CLEAT course at the time is. It's currently 25 rounds. Both proposals have gaps within them. Simply by oversight, we were more focused on what course we were going to shoot and whether or not it was harder or not than whether there was a gap right there. So the agreement is the CLEAT course, not a specific 25-round course. If CLEAT changes the course, they could change the course, and by contract, we will follow the new course.
And am I correct that in order for them to maintain their certification, police officers have to qualify on the CLEAT course anyways?
That's true, every year.
Okay.
It's mandated by CLEAT.
Okay, so that's Article 22. Article 24, again, I'm recommending that we concede on wages to go to 7.2 instead of 7%. And those are the last concessions. Recommend that we stay firm on the position on the corporal, Article 28, and on the vehicle, take-home vehicle policy, Article 30.
And that 11 miles was not a just made-up number. It was chosen some other time in the past.
Yes, sir. The history on that, I established that based on some audit recommendations in the past as well as the IRS rules. 11 miles is essentially the other side of the lake, round numbers. It seemed like a reasonable number. I have had several conversations with other city managers and have yet to find one that allowed vehicles outside the city limits for that matter. But since we have city limits out at the lake, it seemed reasonable and defensible. So that's the reason I imposed it on all other city employees.
So that's why this language wasn't presented as not being allowed outside the city limits. The 11-mile radius was accepted because of our previous or other employees that are allowed 11-mile radius.
Yes, ma'am. The 11-mile rule was in place prior to this contract negotiation even taking place.
Okay.
That was there. I imposed that however long ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was. And of course, again, anyone who is inside, any police officers inside that limit, would be allowed to take home vehicle.
True. The way it's set up is that they could take it home if they're within the 11, or it depends on their assignment. For instance, a canine officer. Even if they're outside the 11-mile, it would depend on the assignment. But we only have 2 right now that are allowed to take it home because of their assignment.
And what are those assignments that would qualify someone to go outside the 11-mile radius?
Well, it's a decision that I would make, but I'd like to have investigators, the community relations officer / PIO, public information officer, canine officers, especially because of the additional responsibilities of having that canine, and plus the equipment to properly transport that canine.
So that's my recommendation, and that we do it time specific. Again, from the standpoint, if possible, if we don't need to go through the election, then why go through that whole process? It's laborious and
You're in effect asking us in the next agenda, item 17, to okay the 5 city concessions and the 1 compromise. And you will present that to the police union when?
again, I didn't count them. The concessions I
Well,
articulated,
that's what I
yes, sir.
counted, whatever
Yeah.
the figure is.
What was the last part of your question?
Providing we give the permission to make these changes to the agreement, when will you present it to the police union?
That would be up to our attorney tomorrow, I suppose, or?
There's been a lot of back and forth.
Will this be done lawyer to lawyer or executive board to?
Yes, part of the reason for the executive session is there have been some discussions, but settlement discussions are confidential, and so,
Okay.
but there is knowledge that this is coming, and there has probably even been
If I'm
an idea
asking
of what
something you
has
don't
been
want to
recommended.
talk about, just tell
No,
me.
it would be presented. I spoke with the union's attorney before coming down here and told him, assuming that it's authorized, he'll get it first thing in the morning. They know that it's potentially coming, and we've already had discussions about the
Everybody
union.
understands the time restraints.
Yes, and when we opened the dialogue about this, that was the opening dialogue, was that if there was going to be a settlement, it had to be before the
Close the business on the 8th.
filing period. And the reason for that is, truly, the city believes in its offer as it stands, and we've already gone into that and had quite a bit of discussion on that. An election is costly. There are priorities for both the union and for the city. What the city has outlined here today and what it's holding on represents some of the highest priorities for the city in progressing the department and changing some of the philosophy, we believe with some of the discussion that's gone on about paying our police officers as much as we can, about protecting their due process rights, that this represents a good compromise for both sides to protect what might be the highest priorities for both sides. But the reason that we're having this discussion is to try and avoid the cost of an election. It's not because there's...
Yeah, it's not so much about cost. It's just, again, moving the organization and the city forward, and the election requires an enormous amount of administrative effort.
If
And it seems timing.
This question, if it can be answered in open meeting, worst case scenario, the city gets no response, or city attorney gets no response from the police union by close of business on the 8th, but you do get a affirmative response from them, say, the 11th or 12th. What happens then?
Well, the contract can be settled at any point in time before the election if they want to make the reason we'd like to make this time sensitive is because of the issues we've already outlined. If they were to come back next week and accept the offer wouldn't be there anymore. Now, they could make it as their own offer. We would bring it to the commission, and the commission would determine whether or not it wants to accept it. But the reason for placing a time limit on this, or a time requirement on this offer, is so that after that time, it cannot be accepted the following week. It can be reoffered by them, or we could reoffer it. But we want to make this time sensitive for a very specific reason.
What you're telling us is if we give you approval tonight to go ahead with these changes, they're only good until
Correct.
Thursday?
Correct. And that basically the offer is open until Thursday, and then
In
the
other
offer's
words,
off the table.
There's no good faith agreement then. It has to be signed, sealed, and delivered by the...
Well, if the union meets before or even early on Thursday morning to adopt this or to make a counter, then that's the purpose of calling for a special meeting for the purpose of adopting, hopefully, a collective bargaining agreement. But time-sensitive offers are quite common. In fact, it's usually not a good idea to make an offer that you don't make time-sensitive, to just leave it out there for months on end. You need an answer within a reasonable amount of time based upon the factors that are at play here. A reasonable amount of time for us is Thursday, especially in light of the fact that there has been discussion back and forth about this. This won't be a surprise to the union
The
tonight.
other side of that coin is you have to get the commissioners here, at least 4 of us, by Thursday, right? I
Yes.
think I'm going to be out of town Thursday and Friday. I don't know for sure. So
I'll be here.
this could open another can of worms.
You gonna be here? You gonna be here?
Friday morning?
Mark?
I'm just trying to...
You gonna be here?
Friday's better for me.
Thursday.
Friday morning's fine.
If there's a favorable response from the police.
Sure. Yeah, so we could set it Friday morning. If nothing comes back, or if it's a negative, then we simply not have the meeting. But at least we have that option. I'm trying to give you as many choices as possible.
Are we going to have a quorum?
Yeah. Friday.
I hate to mess up an important meeting. like
No,
this.
you're making a valid point. I'm just trying to work through this thing.
All right.
Friday morning? Anyway, so that's my recommendation. Again, we'll stand ready to answer any questions or clarify any points.
One of the items here that we just kind of glossed over and didn't expound on is one that you're proposing that we stand by, the city's proposal to reduce the minimum number of years of service before an officer can be eligible for the rank of corporal.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to defer to the chief on that.
Okay. The city's proposal is to lower that from the current 7 years to this proposal, which says 4 years.
That's correct.
So that means that when a police officer has 4 years of service in the rank, they are eligible to move up.
I'm sorry, go
If
ahead.
by the city's proposal, it would happen in 4 years instead of 7.
Correct, and there's other criteria that we're leaving in place, but we're lowering it from 7 years to 4 years.
Okay, we're not talking about changing any of the other criteria. It's just the years of service, and if everything else is met, then they would be eligible 3 years sooner than what the current situation is.
That is correct.
That's right. So And that is one, too, that you think that it's important that we don't concede or don't go back.
Absolutely.
to
We need to
mistakes.
stand by on that proposal right there, if we're going to move the department forward.
And do you think that's going to help us with retention of good police officers by helping them to advance quicker within our department as opposed to going to some of the bigger departments where they can earn more money?
That's part of it. Retention gives them the ability to move up in the organization sooner if they meet the other criteria.
Right.
Also, it encourages our officers to seek out either law enforcement training or formal education, which the city provides tuition assistance. We're wanting our officers to be as educated as possible because they have an awesome amount of responsibility by having that badge. So I think it's very important. And the way we have it right now, it takes a
That's
decade.
one of the biggest
Yeah.
issues. Holding people back from opportunity is not right. And again, that's why we lose people to other departments, to the highway patrol. And, why would you want to do that? For them to be more professional. I don't understand that.
But it doesn't make sense to me, and there's listed on there's 5 people that would be affected by this during the contract year that would receive a very substantial raise. And so I have a hard time of understanding that they want to maintain the status quo.
That this is, my next question would be that this is something that is feasible, that within 4 years, a police officer can gain the requirements that are needed for promotion. They can do that within 4 years. Right now, that is attainable. And currently, there are officers who have done that, and now they're just waiting for time to pass so they can get.
We've hired people that have degrees, that had that also had law enforcement training and such. But if somebody started just at square one, which the basic requirement is having a high school diploma or GED, then yes, they could go to college and have the additional training since we beefed up our training program here. And I'm confident, and it would keep them pretty busy, but they could get it in the 4-year mark.
So we're not putting something out there that's not attainable, that looks wonderful, but it's not attainable, because we have officers right now that would qualify.
That's correct. But absolutely, I think it's attainable.
Okay.
But also, I must add that this requirement, it holds up an officer from advancing to a supervisory rank. The soonest that they could be in a supervisory rank, which is sergeant, is 10 years. It's a decade. I'm not aware of any other department that waits that long before you can advance to a supervisory rank.
What is the time frame between corporal and sergeant? Did
You have to
say
be-
that's 10 years?
3 years time and grade as a corporal before you're even eligible to test for sergeant, but there may not be a position
But under the
available.
previous system or existing system, they also have 7 years as private, so to speak, before they reach corporal. So that 7 and that 3 makes it 10 years before they get to sergeant.
That's correct, before they're even eligible to test.
Well, it seems to me the union wanted the 7 years for whatever reasons, but one I can see very clearly is time on the job, experience on the street. An officer with 7 years street-wise experience versus an officer with 4 years of college, who would you rather have?
Well, the way you're couching that question is incorrect, because that's not what this is. It's a combination of training, police training, formal education, and experience on the street. Prepares them for that next level.
But you're saying 4 years is better than 7.
I'm saying 4 years, absolutely, they're ready for that next level at 4 years.
Chief, does the corporal carry supervisory responsibility?
No, they don't. They could under certain circumstances, but typically they don't. It's an incentive pay.
Well, is there going to be, no, I want to say something to the chief. Is you going to be consistent in when you promote people like that, or there's going to be, you said there's other, or they're going to have this, or there's some other agendas that one person have to have versus the other person?
The department,
Because I want to know, do all of them get the same opportunity?
the department has been put on automatic pilot by the union. I have no say in any promotions, any incentive increases. Absolutely none. It's set by the criteria. So if in other words, I can't just pick this person or that person. It's based on the criteria. I have no say in any promotions, any incentive positions on the department.
So anyone who meets the criteria will be promoted to corporal. See, if I can make just one observation, city manager, and you see this in the military, you have to have open positions. But to go from patrol officer to corporal, there does not have to be an open position. There has to be an open position for a sergeant or lieutenant and above, but not to make corporal. So everyone who meets the criteria, 4 years plus the other criteria, everybody who meets that criteria will be promoted to corporal under the city's proposal.
Well,
Everyone treated exactly the same.
I understand, but this line of questioning that we all are throwing at you and the chief and the attorney is not for our benefit, because we have no say in whether this is going to be accepted or not. We may give you the approval to go ahead and present it, but the police executive board is going to make the decision, not us. So you're giving us information for our benefit and for the citizens' benefit. We have no decision in this process.
That's correct.
Other than to approve
Other
the
than
contract.
you going ahead and making the offer.
With the
Yeah,
proposal.
I mean, you have the responsibility of approving the contract with the recommendations I've made.
But we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Again, the criteria is the criteria. I mean, they're neutral. You either meet them or you don't.
Well, the can of worms is open right now. Chief, are you saying that you do not promote your personnel? You say that the union has outlined it and they step by step by step?
That's what, yes, sir, that's what's happened over the years, is that the chief has been taken out of most of the process. It's on automatic pilot.
Some would say that's elimination of the good old boy projects.
That could be, then why do you need a chief then, is my
I can see that coming
response.
right away.
I mean, if that's the case, then it needs to be run by committee, not a chief executive officer.
Yeah.
And I don't know what other organization is run by the employees like this.
But legally, you would have to, to advance people, you would have, just like, in a regular company, out in the real world, there is criteria for steps, for pay grade steps or whatever that you would have to go through, whether it's union or not. Typically, you've got to have a structure in place, otherwise you're going to open yourself up for a lawsuit.
There is, and we do an assessment process, which goes through, and it's a structure of testing, interviews, and such that they go through in order to attain a certain ranking or score. But typically, in a lot of organizations, they have various, like a rule of 2 or a rule of 3. And from the department I came from, it was like a rule of 5, where the top 5 candidates were reviewed by staff, recommendations were made, and the chief made the decision as to who got promoted in the organization.
Again, as proposed, the criteria is objective. You don't have to have an open slot to go from patrol officer to corporal. It's an automatic promotion if you meet the criteria. We're recommending that it stay at 4 years rather than the 7 years in order to move the department forward.
Well, we can't pick and choose out of this. We have to give you the okay, thumbs up or thumbs down, and you take the ball from there.
Correct. Well, that's the way we have it
We
set.
can't say we'll approve Article 28, Section 28, but we won't approve the other 3.
We prioritized what we felt was best. As we stated before, we feel very strongly that the proposal in our entirety is a good proposal, but we're trying to resolve the issue.
Don't try to get us in negotiation process. That's not our job.
Because the commission is the ultimate decision maker on the contract, you can tell us to make a different offer or not to make this offer or to compromise even more. The reason that we're here today is that once it gets to this level, only the commission can settle this, and the union as well. We can't extend a formal settlement offer in good faith if we don't know that the commission will back it. That's why we're here, is we can't extend this offer without commission approval, because that wouldn't be acting in good faith on our part. At the same time, if the commission wishes to modify or wants changes made to this proposal or to what we're talking about,
We start doing that, we'll never make the deadline.
True, but I want to let you know why we're here today, and if this is not the type of settlement offer the commission wants, the commission can direct us another way. We just cannot extend a formal settlement offer at this stage of the game without having commission approval, because that wouldn't be bargaining in good faith.
But both of you guys have had some interaction with the union representatives?
There's been interaction, but as to what that interaction has been, that's settlement discussions are confidential.
But I mean, you have had some discussion, so it's not like, okay, this is going to be our. yes
This
or
will not be
yes.
this will not be a surprise, and what
Okay.
we're talking about here specifically will not be a surprise.
Okay.
Right, so we haven't been, it hasn't been quiet for the last 6 weeks now or something, and all of a sudden pop up,
Right.
here's a piece of paper
Right.
with a recommendation.
It hasn't been quiet in some time. No, but as it specifically relates to this,
Okay.
there have been discussions ongoing. Just they've gotten more serious as of late. But as to where that's
Okay.
that's about as
Okay.
far as I can really
Yeah.
go without divulging too much confidence.
Well, why is, you said we having this meeting here and not going to executive session so that everything will be out and open, but yet you say to us that things are confidential. So are we just playing ball games, round and round, going round and round?
Settlement discussions, the content of settlement discussions are confidential, and that's why we put the executive session on, is so that we could disclose what the content of the settlement discussions were. But it'd be unethical for me to tell you, I'd be breaking confidence with the union's attorney to disclose to you what our conversations have been, because they're confidential settlement discussions. So that's the only reason that we put the executive session on, is so that we could give you some insight as to what the content of those discussions were. But it'd be unethical for us to do that in open, prohibited.
And it wouldn't impact my recommendation as the city manager. This is a professional staff recommendation based on the chief's intent, and my recommendation as the city manager, along with advice of legal counsel.
And other than staff time, if we were able to settle this, it would save $9,000 for a ballot,
Yeah, I would think that would be a low number, yeah.
9 or 10.
It's hard to tell exactly.
Right.
Is there any reason that we need to go to executive session still?
At this point, I think we've had enough of a discussion about the issues. If you really want to know some of the back and forth, but I'm not sure it would be too helpful to where we are right
What
now.
about the ballot initiative? Has that arbitrator's decision come back on?
Yeah, the arbitrator selected the union's ballot.
Okay, so it's still what, 4 pages on the ballot?
5 pages if you count the actual voting
That's a
part.
waste of time.
Can you explain that?
That's a really good
For the
point. Can I
public?
step in? That's really a good point, Commissioner. That's a long ballot.
Why can't you just say, do you accept city's last proposal or the union's last proposal?
There are certain statutory requirements about what have to go into it, and that what you saw, the 5 pages, was as simple as we could get it and still comply with the statute. The public has to be put on notice of the different unresolved issues, and if there's a cost factor to them, they have to be put on notice of what the additional cost is. The Fire and Police Arbitration Act doesn't give you very much discretion, and with good reason. You don't want to try and deceive anybody about what the issues are. And frankly, the ballot language we got very close on it. There was just very minor differences between our proposals, but it's about 5 pages as of right now.
Sounds like a game of snooker to me.
And can I ask also, should we agree on a proposal here in an attempt to bring resolution, and that is turned down by the union, and we continue to go to a vote, the ballot will have the original offers on
That's
them,
correct.
not any proposal that we might be talking about right now.
This is an all or nothing game. If
Okay.
we can't agree to 99% of it and just have one minor disagreement, if we don't agree to everything, we agree to nothing. And the full ballot, and the full last best offers go to the people.
Okay, okay.
All right. Are we ready to go to 17?
Again, we're trying to bring this to closure.
Hurry.
Okay. Consideration and possible action on matters discussed, I guess I can say executive session, actually just discussed, regarding the status of a collective bargaining agreement for FY 2007-2008 between the City of Shawnee and the IUPA Local Number 3, including a possible discussion of and authorization to the city manager to extend a settlement offer to the IUPA Local Number 3 to resolve the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Shawnee and the IUPA Local Number 3 for fiscal year 2007-2008.
I move to accept the city manager's concessions on the proposed contract language.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schran, second by Commissioner Holt.
Are you going to add to that the 10th item of time specific?
He knows what the changes are.
Okay, we had,
With a special meeting on Friday.
Oh, you want
morning at
that
9
in there
o'clock.
too?
But,
Okay.
The
wait a
8th.
minute, but your motion talked only about concessions.
Yeah.
That's right.
How about the proposal?
It needs to be the
Proposal.
proposal
Okay.
because of the changes.
With said concessions.
Yeah.
Okay. And date specific for a special meeting on
Thursday morning, you
For
said?
Friday.
Friday morning.
At 9.
Friday morning.
8?
At 8
Well,
o'clock.
for their response, it's
Oh, 8,
the city
okay.
commission meeting at 9 o'clock. Friday.
Oh, okay. So
Okay.
our meeting would be at
That's my
9.
recommendation.
Okay. You got that? You won't be here, but
City attorneys get up that early?
You available that time, John?
Legal attorneys get up that early?
oh, I see how that works.
Time for the partners to go to work.
Okay. Any other discussion? Call roll.
We need, who seconded that?
Carl.
Carl.
Carl, okay.
Letters on the table.
Shran,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
O'Neill,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Peterson.
aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, George, sorry about that. You got pushed back a little bit. Number 6, presentation by Sac and Fox Tribal Representative concerning participating with the City of Shawnee on West Tech Road project. Chief Thurman and lots of other people.
Okay, I'd like to thank the commissioners this evening. Holt, Peterson, Young, O'Neill, Shran, Stevens, and Mayor Mills for allowing us the time to be on the agenda to come forward and make this proposal. And we're handing out the PowerPoint presentation so you can follow along, and the business card in case you want to get in touch with me and talk to me personally about this. And I'd like to introduce briefly some of the people that came with us tonight. Our second chief, Cheryl Topai. Our committee person, Stella Nenato. Chairperson of our enterprise board, Georgia Noble. And then we have our gaming manager, our general manager of the casino, Glenn Coleman. And Randall Carter, our projects coordinator. So I'd like to take this time to show you that, as you see on the deal, I am the principal chief of the Sac and Fox Nation, have been in this position since September of 2007. So we'd like to present this project overview to you. What we're here to present a proposal for consideration of the city commissioners to help in funding converting 1,635 feet or 0.309 miles of the current eastbound 2-lane road into a 3-lane road beginning on Harrison Street on West Tech Road. So we want to continue our partnership with the City of Shawnee, which we have been doing for several years now, and we're asking for help in funding the West Tech Road project. The Sac and Fox Nation has already committed $550,000 of our Indian Reservation roads monies to this project. And what we're asking is the City of Shawnee for $100,000 towards this project. The benefits to the city are improved roadway for citizens and for tribal members as well. For the school bus routes, there are Shawnee High School and North Rock Creek bus routes run on this road out there. There are several businesses located along this road, and to alleviate the congestion from casino traffic in the future, such as RVs and semis. As some of you are aware, we're doing an expansion of the current casino now, and we expect a lot more traffic in there once it's open sometime in May, possibly, or June of this year. Right here you have an overhead view of the West Tech Road. To the left there is Highway 18 or Harrison Street, and it goes east
the length of the property, which is, when I said earlier, about .309 miles. The St. Fox Nation owns land on the north side where the casino is located, and then on the south side we own 12 acres. And we would like to try to broaden this into a 3-lane, which would help the traffic tremendously through this area. And to let you know a little bit about the Sac and Fox Nation, I'm going to tell you our enrollment is 3,491 members. Our headquarters are in Stroud, Oklahoma, although we have a heavy presence here in the city of Shawnee. You see the breakdown of the male and female ages 0 to 17, and then 18 to 54, and then our senior citizens 55 and older. And I must admit, I just joined that group about 2 weeks ago, so I'm now considered a baby elder, let's put it that way. So right here is our Indian Reservation Roads projects. From 1982 to 1995, we had $7.5 million. 2005 was a new funding rule. 2006, $800,000. 2007, $700,000. And 2008, approximately $700,000, of which you've seen where we have allocated $550,000 towards this project. Our Black Hawk Health Center, located in Stroud on the tribal complex, to show you some of the economic impact that our nation has on the Shawnee area. On doctor referrals, we have spent $91,540, and on referrals and admitting to hospitals, $49,984, which brings the total amount of money spent in the Shawnee and Pot County on health care alone for our tribal members and Native Americans in our jurisdiction. It brings the total to $141,525. And on the vendor information from the Black Hawk Health Clinic, there are 220 vendors, 67 medical vendors, for a total of 287 total vendors that the Sac and Fox Nation does business with, and these come from the Shawnee and Potawatomi County areas. At our education department, we have 394 in the Shawnee school system. In our higher education, we have 10, and in Votex, we have 2. Our law enforcement, which you probably see a lot of our units in the city of Shawnee and in the surrounding area, we have 8 full-time police officers. And these Sac and Fox police officers issue district citations for traffic violations committed in Potawatomi County and the city of Shawnee, making the city of Shawnee a safer place to live and drive. And all of this is at the expense of the Sac and Fox Nation. Our police officers are always prepared to assist any deputy or municipal officer when a call for assistance is received. And not only does our assistance help to eliminate deputies and municipal officers time wasted on various calls, it also can and does save the city and county money on wages, fuel, workman's compensation. The city and county basically has several extra officers on the street at no additional cost to them. And you go out here on Kickapoo Street and Wolverine Road, the St. Fox Nation is building a new food distribution center, which is located out there in the industrial park, I believe it's called. The distribution center will service 300 families in the Shawnee area. And this is a picture of the new facility. So if you get a chance, drive out there, take a look at it. We have a projected opening of late spring, early summer, or midsummer of this year of this new facility, and we're really proud of this. Our housing is located here. The St. Fox Nation Housing Authority is located at the corner of Harrison and 9th Street. And although the St. Fox Nation jurisdiction extends through several counties, 3 of them, Payne, Lincoln, and Potawatomi, Shawnee has the largest population with the most homes in the St. Fox Nation. It just seems that our people congregate more in this area because of jobs and because of the housing that we have. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Randall Carter, our project coordinator, to discuss our Indian Reservation roads monies and how this program benefits people in this area.
Thank you, Chief Thurman, Commissioners, and Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity of making this presentation to you. I know the amount we're requesting is not a small amount, but we are serious about getting this road fixed and prepared. At the current time, it's real congested in that area, although the city has assisted us in the past on that intersection, along with the state, with widening that intersection out. Our past experience, actually, maybe not directly, but indirectly assisting the city at the request of the former mayor and the Oklahoma Department of Transportation, we provided $1.8 million in federal bridge funds to fix or reconstruct 2 bridges on US 270 that go just south of Kickapoo Spur. One's right over West Dewey Street, and one's just north of it, or south of it there on Lake Road. And then that leads directly into the expo. I mean, we knew the economic impact that those bridges would create, as well as safety for our tribal members that live in that area. We've also provided funding for 2 bridges that are real important to the city of Shawnee with State Highway 18. We've provided 2 reconstruction projects over 2 bridges, one located over Rock Creek and one over North Rock Creek. And that helped the state expand that highway to a 5-lane concrete highway, which really helped in the traffic patterns going to the local industries out north of there, including our food distribution center. That's why we assisted in that, because our tribal members do travel that route quite a bit, and their safety was our primary concern, as well as for fire, ambulance, and police services. This is no different here on West Tech Road. We have provided quite a bit in our total reservation, but Shawnee is our most highly populated tribal area. We have tribal members that drive all over the jurisdiction, and the primary area they drive is State Highway 18 or Interstate 40, so they're in that vicinity. I believe West Tech, if you widen it, will actually alleviate the congestion and the problems that you may have at that intersection now that you opened up Highway 18. At the last estimate provided by City Engineer Prywicki, I think the commission rejected the $658,000 lowest bid on this project. I don't know what the new estimates are going to be. They're telling me approximately it may be $650,000. Right now, we're seriously already obligating $550,000. We're just asking the city to consider, that difference. If you have any questions,
Is that? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Who's first?
We have rebid this, is that right, John? And it's coming back then on the next meeting, right? February 19th. Yeah, there's a hard, okay, at our next meeting. Okay, so I'm just making that point that that's when the actual bids will be open, then we'll really know what that road costs.
Right. Well, the costs have escalated in the past year since we signed the agreement with the city in March of '07. Costs I believe went up 20% just in concrete and fuel costs.
That's right. Yeah.
So the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to get, and we realize that. We've done so many bridge and road projects in our jurisdiction. What was done 5 years ago, you probably wouldn't be able to get it done today.
Sure. I just wanted to make that comment.
So you're not requesting a change in scope of the project. your request is that the project remain what it originally was in scope as far as where the 3 lanes were, how long the distance was. You just foresee that the cost is going to be higher than what was originally allocated.
Right. In fact, we recommend that it stay 3 lane just for the simple fact we have properties on both sides as well as other owners in the area within the city that if you don't do it a 3 lane, you're going to have congestion in a 2 lane. And with that environment in there, I mean, I've worked at the casino. If you have 18-wheelers coming in and out of that area, you're blocking that road up, and that does affect State Highway 18 Harrison. Like I said, I don't know. It's a city street. City maintains it. We're just willing to give you $550,000 to make it a 3-lane concrete curb and gutter.
No.
And according to the city specs and everything. So.
It's my understanding that we didn't actually engineer the project or put those, I mean, we participated with the bids, but who engineered that, and how did those cost estimates come about at, where we were off so much? Any idea?
Under the original, from what I see in my paperwork, from the original contract, we were responsible for the design. We have a tribal engineer. He couldn't be here tonight, but he designed it and worked with the city engineer to get the estimates and cost. But at that time, that was a full year, almost a full year now, since that has occurred. Well, your design and everything may stay the same. There's no changes, but your costs have went up. And I believe because of fuel costs and materials, it just keeps going up. This is not the only project that we work on, but I mean we have the same problems on other projects,
Right.
of all this coming up. So
Is this, is the 550 part of your, I know you guys have been really successful with BIA bringing in road
Right.
monies. Is that part of that, or are you guys digging
That-
deep
that-
in your pockets there?
well, that is my Indian Reservation roads money.
Okay.
We've had this in the plans for several years. It's just taken us a while to get this into fruition, and we were just asking for the city's assistance and partnership. You guys already partnered up with that intersection, widening it out and relocating utilities and whatnot on it. We just asked for your assistance on this project because we have a feeling North is growing.
Oh, yeah.
Not only in industry but your housing as well. And I believe West Tech is going to be a road, an area that is going to increase.
I think Glenn's probably getting ready to get up and tell us this, but one of the questions I think that always comes about is, okay, what about the tax base? And realizing that we don't get direct taxes, but you guys do employ citizens of Shawnee and the surrounding area. And like I said, we may get more, I guess, maybe more into that, but what is that employment there? And you have other enterprises in the area that you may develop also?
It's a possibility. I don't know that end of it. I'm strictly with roads and bridges. And I will say this before I go off the microphone. We are property owners within the city, different locations. Just recently I finished our multi-purpose center. That's where we do a lot of our tribal meetings, whatnot. We re-concreted that whole parking lot area, put security lights up, because I know in that area sometimes you may have criminal activity, and we've had in the past. So that does help with police and patrol in that area. We're proud that we can improve not only our property, but the surrounding areas between 9th and 10th Street. Because I know over time it's been pretty dark through there if you got away from the roadway. So I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Randall.
Thank you.
Okay, and now at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Coleman to step forward and to tell us a little bit more about the casino and the operation out there. So, Mr. Coleman, would you please step forward?
Good evening. I want to share with you information. You've heard some of the things that the tribe has did, and we don't know that you're fully aware of the contribution that we make back. We don't only take everyone's money, we do give some of it back along the way. We do have a new casino that's opening. Our plans are about the first week of May. In addition to what we currently do, there will be about 175 new games, new restaurant will be in there, some other amenities, and we will be adding some employees along with the new casino. Now, here's some numbers that funds the local economy that you're going to be interested in seeing. Salaries and benefits of our employees, $4,687,832 in salaries and benefits. $2,465,990 is paid to local suppliers, utilities, customers, and your service providers. The state of Oklahoma currently receives, over the past year, $319,944. We do expect that to go up considerably with the new casino, in addition to more machines and the type of machines that the benefits they receive. Vendors who many are located in the state or have employees in the state, $4,782,955. So we do keep a little of that back to give to the tribe, but as you can see, there's a lot of it going out to the local business. 180 employees employed at the Sac and Fox Nation Casino. This is only the location there at Shawnee. Now, 96 of those live in Shawnee proper, and then 112 of those live in what we call the greater Shawnee area. For us would be the Tecumseh, Shawnee. So we have 112 that are right here in your doorstep. Our local customer base, and by the way, we recently changed our Players Club, and this is a current listing. We have 20,638 active patrons in that. Within a 50-mile radius, we're looking at 13,304 patrons in that 50-mile radius, with 7,334 outside the 50-mile radius. In addition, 8,228 is, again, what we call the greater Shawnee area would be within, basically within about a 10-mile radius. 6,905 patrons living in Shawnee come to our casino on a regular on the days. Now, some of you folks are businessmen and women out there, and if you haven't noticed that line, 23.02% of the Shawnee's population visit our casino. I would challenge any of you to have 1 in 4 come to your facility on a regular basis. I bet as business people you'd love that. That shows you how much traffic. Only way to get in and out is on that one road. It shows you how much traffic is coming through. We normally, on a slow day, have about 3,500 people. On a busy day, 7,000 people on a daily basis. So these are people that are coming on a regular basis, not to mention the fact that coming from out of town, they're spending money at the restaurants, also the gas stations, and so forth. We have a new project. We haven't announced this, actually. It's hardly an amphitheater. This is due to open about the same time as our casino. Now, along with this, I want you to know there's a little difference where our competitor, 7 miles away, has concerts all the time. They come from Oklahoma City, 7 miles away, get back in their car and drive back to Oklahoma City. We are bringing people inside the city limits, and they'll be spending money on food. They're going to be spending money on gas to get back wherever they're from. And this is going to be happening very shortly. We're looking at as early as May, probably the end of May, possibly having some things happening there. Now, obviously, for competitive reasons, there's numerous things we plan on having at this amphitheater, but we're going to say concerts, carnivals, car shows, boxing matches, all of which, once again, is happening within the inner Shawnee area. We're going to bring people, as we've showed you already, the traffic we're bringing in. And that's before we start having any concerts or anything like that. Our amphitheater is going to be huge. We're talking 330 by 660. We can bring in Willie Nelson or a small act or whichever we want to do. Much of that, we hope to be part of the community. You notice the carnivals and car shows and things. We're going to have the amphitheater that any age group can walk in and come to one of our concerts or whatever it may be. We want to be part of this. We're going to open this up, and a lot of times, if there's some charities or something who want to use the amphitheater, we're going to open it up. We're going to be part of the community. And Mr. Mills and I have talked about this before. We want to be a community partner. That's our goal. We're going to be part of this community, and we're moving forward. Many of you know that we were participants in the parade recently, and we're going to bring those things not 7 miles away. We're going to bring them to your doorstep, to our doorstep. Moving forward with this, we do have another project and we're going to tip our hand on this. As the chief mentioned, we have 12 acres on the south side, which again, you would have to cross that road. We're looking right now on the south end of the property of opening an RV park. Again, those folks are going to come in, they're going to stay there. Where are they going to eat? Local restaurants, where are they going to get their gas? Whatever it may be, they're going to come to the Shawnee area. And we're going to have a unique marketing program to hopefully keep them around for a little while. And I can't divulge that information, obviously. But we're going to bring people to Shawnee. We're going to be part of this community. We're going to have things going on all the time. Now, we're still small. We're not the big boys. But by the time it's over with, everybody's going to think we are, because it's obvious. You can see what we're doing now. We are part of Shawnee, and we are moving forward. And we would really like for you to move forward with us. We're building for the future, and we would ask that you participate with us and move towards the future. Thank you.
Can't believe you didn't show us your new sign. It's impressive.
So at this time, I'd like to conclude with that a figure that's astounding to me. Last year alone, this casino, we have two, one in Stroud, which is due for expansion too, but this one in Shawnee last year generated over $20 million. This is in the Shawnee casino alone. And economists will tell you this, people that, we've heard this many a time, that for every dollar that's spent in a casino, how many times it turns over before it ever leaves the local area. And we just picked a conservative number. We say it turns over 5 times. For every dollar it's spent in that casino, it turns over 5 times in the local economy before it ever leaves the area, if it ever does. 20 million times 5, $100 million, folks, in the city of Shawnee and this community. So with that, I'd just like to leave that with you to think about, and we ask that you help partner with us, and we hopefully that this will just be a continuing partnership with the city of Shawnee. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Thurman. We'll have this on our next agenda, right?
Yes, sir.
To consider.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So we're going to open bids at the next meeting.
Right.
Right. So depending on
Early.
what the project is and how the bids come out we don't normally accept a bid
Right.
at that meeting. We usually accept it at the following regularly scheduled meeting. So would the procedure be to open the bids, review it jointly, and then come back with a recommendation on where we go from there? Would that be a month from now?
What kind of timeline are you all on?
Trying to open in June, was that right? Or something like that?
Obviously, we're not going to make a date of our opening, because we're going to open very short. We hope to open the first week of May. It could happen as late as June, but our intent is to open in May. And the project's about 120 days, so obviously we're going to have to make some concessions. But the sooner we get this done, it's going to be a bit easier.
Yeah, our procedure is, Vice Mayor Peterson pointed out, is that we generally do not award the bid at that time when we open it. We open it and evaluate it, and so there would be a joint evaluation with Mr. Kryricky and you all, and then bring it back that following meeting. Okay, that was consistent with our policies.
Which is the first meeting in March?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So all we would do next time, again, we'd open it, say, okay, here are our bids, got to evaluate, and then come back with a recommendation. That's
Okay.
very good.
I just want to make sure that, I mean, we understand what
Okay.
the process is, but that
Yes.
everybody does, and that, I mean, that's our normal process that we would go through, so it really wouldn't be the next meeting that we would have a recommendation, it would
2
be
meetings.
2 meetings
All right.
from now,
Yes.
so that it would have time to be reviewed.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
that's a good
Okay.
March 3rd.
March 3rd? Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, number 7, consider progress made on property located at 707 North Broadway, deferred from 4207, 8607, and 10107.
Yeah, I thought that's fine.
No. We can turn the lights back on. I'm Mike Cox. I'm the Chief Building Official for the City of Shawnee. This item number 7 is consider progress made on the property located at 707 North Broadway. To bring you back up to speed on this, this was a piece of property that was condemned for condition on Broadway, brought to the commission. The commission gave opportunity for rehabilitation. At the time the property was condemned, it was it had 6 single residential dwellings on one piece of property. That was brought down to a more realistic size for that lot. At this particular time, the density is 3 individual dwellings. The main unit has been completely taken down to the structure, rewired, replumbed, a new mechanical system's put in. There's only, it's a duplex now, the main dwelling that you see out front. It's about 70 to 75% complete at this time, and then there'll be one garage apartment that's allowed on the back side. The garage apartment hadn't been started as of yet as far as the rehabilitation on it. The owner's desire was to go ahead and to get the main dwelling up and get it started so that he could start to recoup some of the investment that he made. He's made considerable investment in this property. I know a lot of times when you drive by, it doesn't look like there's a lot going on. However, the majority of the work that has been done on this project has all been done inside. They're just now starting to get to the outside of it and putting new siding on it to give it a nice curb appeal at that location. I will tell you that the owner builder has cooperated with our department, and like I said, he has taken it completely down to just the structural members. Everything you see there is new, and it's all been brought into compliance. So hopefully we'll have a very nice structure on Broadway for a long, long period of time. I did ask Scott to come here this evening, and so if you have any questions for him, well, he's willing to answer. He's about 75% complete with the main structure.
That was the information we were lacking last time because it looked like all the windows were boarded up, nothing was happening. I did see people there, workers, Friday afternoon, so I know something was going on anyway. But like you said, you drive by and you think, okay. And some of those get personal, I mean, we see these things, we move them, and we drive by and watch them, and you say, man, what's going on? And we didn't have the benefit of having that knowledge.
Right. One of the reasons you've probably seen it secured from the outside is because of the amount of money that's been spent on the inside of it. He's also used that area to store all the material in there while he's done this project. But the 2 units that dwelling's been built into are totally new, just like a new house. I mean, everything about them new. The bathtubs, the restrooms are all new, the kitchens are new. There's been a lot of money put into this duplex.
Did we have a date specific on this, or as far as when we would review it next time? I don't recall.
No, I mean, if you'd like it brought back, on the duplex, he's about 75% complete. I would say he's, where he's at on the inside of the structure is their texturing and painting the walls at this time on both of those units. So that unit should be complete within the next 30 to 60 days. He hasn't started on the garage apartment out back yet.
You're telling us you're satisfied with the progress?
Yes, I believe the project's going well.
I drove by it today, and I'm very pleased with what I have seen toward improvement on it. As a matter of fact, I drive by there quite a bit. I didn't see any windows boarded up. That's very acceptable to me.
This came to us quite a while back as a recommendation, I believe, to raise and
Raise and remove,
remove,
that's
wasn't
right.
it?
That's right.
Okay. So there is work being done, especially on the main structure, like you said, not on the back structure. How do we ensure that the entire structure continues to be worked on as we go through this, and not just part of it, so that the back structure doesn't come to a state where it's back into the raise and remove situation? Is it, I mean, until they get full occupancy, we're not done with this, right?
That's correct.
Okay, okay, okay.
That's correct. The situation, as I understand it, that the owner's trying to do is to finish the main dwelling so that he can gain occupancy for those units to allow to go ahead and
Revenue
rent those
stream.
out and to bring
Yes.
some revenue back in, and
Okay.
then proceed with the third structure. So,
Okay.
and that is a situation that that you see us do a lot of times. Is as they finish a particular unit, we can give occupancy, let people in those, and then continue to work on the other ones.
Okay. I just don't want it to stop once we reach the point where occupancy has been given for the first two, or for the duplex in the front, and we don't continue on back. Very good.
Is there a time frame? I guess we need him up here. Is there a time frame to get the garage apartment started and completed?
I'm going to apologize. I may have misunderstood that before you guys were done with it, that the entire property, and that may have just been just a lack of understanding on my part. I do not have a time frame. I have not. That's where I'm at with that is that we were focusing on the front building. As soon as we had the front building done, then we look at the back building. There's still a possibility that we might go ahead and knock the back building down ourselves. I don't. That's not my intention, but that is something that I have not gotten any bids on that work. So right now I'm at about 6 months from the time the building permit has been issued. I'm just over 6 months into it. If you wanted to, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer for that. I did not, again, my misunderstanding. If 6 months, I probably could have that done. It's a lot smaller structure. The concrete work will already have been done. The plumbing will already have been done. The main plumbing line would have already been taken care of, hopefully in the next 2 weeks. So from that point, compared to you're looking at about 1,000 square feet versus about a 3,200 square foot building on the front side. I already have the people in place that took care of the front building, whereas I would not think I'd have to find new contractors. I don't know if I gave you an answer or not just then, but that's where I'm at.
A definite maybe. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so far your reputation is good with us here as far as I know. I mean, you've done what you said you were going to do. We told you before we thought your initial schedule was very aggressive. And we understand. I mean, we understand just how long some of these things take. We appreciate you taking the effort to return this structure back to some kind of habitable structure, whether it's 4 dwellings or 2, but just to be able to take that back. And just as long as you understand that the whole property needs to be addressed as you go along. But I'm not comfortable with putting a 3-month or a 6-month on that one. I think you've continued to make progress. You will not be able to keep renters if the back area gets back to the shape that it was before. I mean, so it's in your best interest to continue on.
Everything, in the structure, and this was part of my delay. I did not have the intention of making everything that you could touch brand new, but that's what I'm looking at right now. So you're right. To bring in that class of tenant, you're right. I would not be able to keep that back building in the shape that it was in, and still expect to receive the top dollar for the rental. So if you're looking for a number, if 6 months, I think I could make very good progress, but 9 months is better. I don't know. Whatever it's your decision.
Are we in a position where we can just turn this back over to the annex?
You bet you can. You bet.
At this point, he's done everything he's supposed to do. And more, because it's going to be a great structure. Let's just
Yeah, if they monitor it and all,
Yeah.
you know, they get to a point where he says, okay, you know, I'm just going to tear this thing
Yeah.
down in the garage, and
We don't monitor every
No.
remodel that's going on in Shawnee, and at this
We
point,
have-
you know what?
And
plenty to do.
progress is being made, and you're monitoring it, obviously, and you know that if progress isn't made in the amount of time, then it goes right back to what the original administrative order was. And we're I don't think we're going to end up there, but I think we've done a good job on making some progress, and making sure we make progress, and that he understands, you know, what's required.
We
Yeah,
don't need to
I don't think we
micromanage
need
this.
it. Yeah, it doesn't need to come here anymore, unless you get a problem. But,
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, number 8, discuss the present status of recreational parks in the city of Shawnee and future plans to use various available funding options to improve existing parks and/or to create new recreational parks.
Who's going to start, Joe?
You can go ahead.
Okay.
I have some history I'll go over, but you can go ahead, and since you wanted to put it on and discuss
All right, I'll
it,
just
so-
briefly outline some of the things we can talk about here. This is just a talking session to throw all these ideas out on the table, give the commissioners and staff some time to think it over, and offer guidance or solutions where applicable. First of all, discuss the present status of recreational parks in the city. I can do that in one word: deplorable. If you come right down to it, last meeting I talked about skate park. 31 times in the last 7 years it was on the ballot, on the agenda one way or another. 31 times I think we made 2 decisions: where to build a skate park out there next to Kids Space, but that entails buying the land or actually changing hands, correct?
That's correct.
From Cemetery Authority?
Cemetery fund, right.
Okay. And there was funding set aside. I believe there's $72,000 left.
Of the $75,000 initial
Right.
appropriation.
Okay, and also, I believe Mr. Southard estimated the appraisal of the cemetery land, which we would have to take from the city's right-hand pocket, put it in the left-hand pocket, so to speak, of around $20,000 to $30,000, which he thought was high, but
My memory was about 20.
okay.
Yeah,
And we
because-
haven't done that yet, right? We
That
haven't.
hasn't been done.
And what he
spent that money.
did is he had that appraised the same time he did the one over on Harrison.
Over on Harrison.
The same
Right.
deal, which Harrison and Center seems
Little-
like
little different,
way different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
not quite the traffic. over.
commercial and residential.
All right, but my point being that the majority of us have been on the commission 4 years. This month, 4 years ago, we filed. I believe Linda, Vice Mayor, was the only one that was previous to that sitting on this board. And I looked up on the internet, those 31 times date all the way back to March of 2001. And we haven't done anything but pick a location and set 72,000 or 75,000 aside. Now, an idea came to me about the regional park. We've been knocking that around about twice as many times on the agenda as a skate park. Over 50, I know that. We've talked about it. And the previous commissions have talked about it. And I think it's time to stop talking and start doing something. We've got $888,000 left in the regional park fund from the Big Four project. Now, City Attorney Canavan has done some checking with BOK. I don't know if Oppenheimer was involved, but all the concerned parties he's checked with, and he got an answer back a couple weeks ago that as long as we use that money for regional parks and recreation, we're allowed to use it. It doesn't have to be for a regional sports complex. And that's just the one thing with the skate park. They've got $5,000 to $7,000 set aside.
8,000.
An oversight, $8,000. The oversight committee that we appointed, I think most of the members have gone south or graduated or moved out of town. So I think there's one or two original members, but they're still willing to go with it. And my suggestion is to use some of this money to build a skate park. Hopefully start turning some dirt and have it done for the kids before summer's over. It's doable, and it's something we should think about. I've raised 5 kids in Shawnee. My wife and I were talking about it the other day. 20 years ago to 25 years ago, they all played baseball, soccer, basketball. Our daughter played softball. 4 boys and 1 girl. If they had to do that today, at our present status, there'd be very few teams for them to sign up with and places to play. Lions Club Park is, we got to put some money in that, obviously. We don't have a girls' softball field for young girls, I believe, 8 to 12 years old. There's no place for them to play. Now, there's other irons in the fire, but I want to start with the skate park. And let's talk about it. Let's get some ideas. Can we do it?
We can do
want
it.
to do it?
Yeah, we can do it. I had a meeting last week with John Greenwood, and who was one of the original, and also Jason Skillern, who had the indoor skate park that they just shut down.
Yeah.
I mean, it, was good for a while, and then the kind of new wore off, I think, and it became a pretty cheap babysitter for some people. I think $5, you drop them off all day, and he had to keep up with them, and that was I think it was eating him up. But one of the things that we, when we started this whole thing, we originally talked about. We looked at what Tecumseh had done, and a lot of that was built on their own and raised money, and they've got a pretty nice little skate park, and it's used a lot in Tecumseh. And we originally talked about just maybe putting a slab down and putting some elements on there. And so once we got into the engineering part, then the skaters got involved, and of course, like anything, give kids an opportunity, and they'll design whatever. They don't care what it costs. Well, we told the engineer up front, look, we don't think we can go beyond a couple $100,000. They came back at $328,000, and this concrete half pipe and all kinds of really nice things. And of course, Mike Southard likes to build class things, and this was going to have all kinds of landscaping and not look like a skate park. It was going to look like a park. But we're kind of back to square one because of the amount of money, and these are some proposals, and this is one of the companies that came to see us, this American Ramp Company, which is in Missouri. And they have different elements. The concrete probably is going to be the most expensive thing, no question about that. And I've actually got a plan to go and try to beg some concrete. I don't know if that'll happen. DeLisi, as an example, is someone that's a major contributor of concrete products in this area, and a few other concrete plants around. The Citizen Potawatomi Nation has a concrete plant as well, and I don't know if I could get some of this donated, but just the elements alone really range from about $45,000, depending on the quality and how many you get, to as much as $90,000, again, depending on the quality. That's for the whole park.
Okay.
That's everything. That's basically these configurations with the ramps and grinder boxes and.
The people I've talked to, they believe that at $300,000 they could cut it at least in half.
Oh yeah, and
problem.
I think really just with what we have, we could probably even, this is what people have wanted to see from day one is what's going to look like.
Yeah.
And if we have something like this where maybe we're 10 or 15,000, 20,000 short, we probably could go out and raise that amount of money. It was the 300,000, it was just unachievable. So I agree that we need to do something here, and I'm not sure that we need a big chunk of land. Number one of the reasons we picked Kid Space was the parking lot and the restrooms. Those two things right there. I don't know, I can't remember, I forgot to dig that out, how much land that was, but I think we were taking that whole little section. I'm not sure we need that.
I don't know if Linda knows. Or
you remember?
I don't know, but I think part of that issue might be that you can't save some of it to be used as cemetery.
Oh,
Or
yeah.
we need to talk about,
Or you
would
need a
we
buffer-
take half of
a
it
buffer
and have
or
a half
something.
cemetery, half skate park? Probably
No.
not.
Plus, you need room for
So-
expansion, probably, too.
That's right. So probably, over time, we're looking at,
But we are set on the
Purchasing.
location. We do
Right,
have that.
we have that set.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about, John and Jason and I talked about was, how big a slab, and so we were looking at some of the recommendations they had here. We were looking at roughly 100 by 100, so it's a pretty big slab. But you got to have transition from one to the other. You can't just have a little short area. Plus, you got to be able to move a lot of kids in an area. So one of the things he had considered too was trying to get something over closer to the airport, to the west of the paintball fields he has. But the same issue, we've already passed this. We already talked about moving kids across busy roads, and this was really still a more ideal location, especially with the restrooms. I mean, those restrooms were, I don't know, 75,000, or they were pretty outrageous, but, So I agree. And frankly, I think we've got the money or close to enough money to actually do this. I mean, we can go into the next phase of the sports complex, which I have done a lot of research on and have a lot of history on, and frankly be the first to admit that this thing was destined to fail from the beginning. I mean, they basically, and I talked to Tom Claybrook today at the beautification committee meeting to say, okay, why did you guys put only $1 million towards about a $15 million project? And his recollection was, as they were going through the Big Four, that it got down to the conference center, the water treatment plant, and the streetscape, and Robert Pettyjohn wanted to have something for kids in here. So therein came the sports complex. And their discussion initially was just for soccer fields, because we need soccer fields. We need, some place where we can have 6, 8, 10 soccer fields or whatever. And that's where the $1 million came in. Just, hey, let's go out and how much $1 million will buy is what we'll do. Well, then I guess Mr. Southard got involved in this and got an engineer involved, and we end up with this. This grand $15 million, 200-acre extravaganza.
I remember that pie in the sky.
And Tom said everybody pretty much cringed. I don't think that was his exact words, but he was a little more descriptive than that. But and they were like, okay, wait, what's this? And that almost has killed this thing from day one, trying to do this. Now, even on the North Airport property, we were lacking utilities. This goes back, and I think John may have told me this, or maybe Mike, that it was going to cost $300,000 to get utilities out to the North Airport property. Well, we just got through looking at what the racetrack, and we were looking at an estimate of $800,000 now. So all of a sudden, those escalating costs have gotten really outrageous. We now have $888,000 or so.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Let me give you ballpark figures.
Okay.
Where's my pencil? $888,744 left of the million.
Right.
After numerous engineering and architectural fiascos.
Somebody made some money.
$200,000 that city manager tells me he has in the fiscal budget to repair the current pool facility. I'm throwing all this recreation funding together in the same pot. $73,000 from the skate park budget line item. 301, fund number 301520. And $8,000 you said from the soccer association. So they have divvied up.
Skaters.
8,000.
Right.
That comes to $1,174,744. Tell me we can't start building something for the kids with that kind of money?
No, I agree, and like I said, one of the discussions as I was having with Tom was, it's just like the skate park. Maybe we need to go back to the original thought here and pursue soccer, and depending on how many fields and the location would be the key there, and there is some land available. I actually hadn't totally given up on this deal because, I am working with 2 or 3 other entities that we could partner with. One of the problems is not only building it, but it's maintaining it and managing it. those are, it's one thing to build it. It's another thing to maintain it and keep it
Well,
nice.
we are bound by city charter that Public Works Department will take care of all city parks, maintain them.
Unless we have some other
But
partnership.
we can, I don't know if we
Right.
can change it, because that's not easy to change a charter item, is it? City charter.
Well, but you're allowed to subcontract to someone else.
Okay.
It's
All right.
cheaper.
I think we talked about that a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Like we contract the community center management and things, probably, we could probably contract.
I'd like to throw the
Ours.
soccer association field in the mix now. They're leasing property on West Independence. And I was surprised they did that much work out there. They've got a sign out, they've got fields cut, they've got fencing put up, and they're only utilizing, out of the 12 acres they're leasing, I think they told me about a third of it. And obviously they can't go any further because of funding. And they need bleachers, they need parking lot, they need tree lines cut back.
Restrooms.
But they can't apply for grants because they're
They don't own the land.
leasing it. They
Right.
don't own the land.
Right.
Now, the city manager and city attorney have something going that it might come to fruition, it might not, but we'll find out soon enough that we might be able to help the soccer association in that regard. And this is something we have to keep under our hat, so to speak, until negotiations.
Right.
are-
Well, that's, like I said, you know, there's
But
lots of
there's
things
irons
going
in the
on.
fire
So,
from
right.
all over,
We
like
have
you
opportunity. It's not like
Right.
we're just sitting and hoping that it's going to go away or something. That's not going to happen because we're going to work on this. And I don't know what the restriction is, and Rex may know or may not know since he's still kind of new out there as to what the restricted area is south of the airport, south of the runway, how far over that goes into that chunk of land. I don't, because that would be a restricted area.
I think they're 12 acres across from the expo driveway, and then there's that center part the airport authority wants clear because of land.
Right, right.
I think that's about 20 acres going towards Kennedy, to the doctor's office there and the DHS.
I didn't think it was that big. I thought they had about 13 or 14 acres there.
Well, I'm just going
It's
by,
kinda skinny.
not official maps, but, you know, what I've been shown.
Right, so, okay.
And they have, that 12 acres has frontage on Independence, and has frontage on Kickapoo Spur.
Well, while we're throwing in the mix, we might as well shift over to the pool.
That's where I was going next.
All right, since that's, you got this big pot of money here, and all of a sudden it's going to get really small.
Burning a
quick.
hole in my pocket.
Big time, you know. So let's get that one on out there as
First of
well.
all, the pool. Mr. Bryce, our Public Works Director, James, has got us, Chuck and I, scheduled to meet with contractors February 7th and February 15th, correct? 2 of the 4 that have submitted bids. And we'll know a lot
Right.
more after those 2 meetings.
Carl Holtz volunteered as well.
Pardon?
Carl's volunteered as well.
Okay, he
Yeah.
brings the Cokes, right?
Yeah, since he's the last guy on.
I just wanted to let people know that
Right.
that's happening.
So we have four proposals.
4.
Right. And I still am wanting to pursue the trust. I think that there's opportunities for us to pursue grant money and get citizen participation and kind of get that out of maybe our management venue as well. I know James, of course, depending on the time of year, he's a pretty busy guy. I know how he stays so skinny now. I see him running around everywhere from place to place. So I know he eats good. He just runs around.
Well, the
so.
swimming pool, isn't there a lot of talk among the local business leaders about helping with funding on that?
Right.
Raising private funding?
Right, there is. And so I think that's a doable thing, and especially if it were able to be a write-off that, and again, pursuing the grant money, and because we have 200,000 right now, like I said, that's set aside that we could put into that. We still have, and this is tied to that sports complex, depending on if we can pull the trigger here somewhere quick enough. We have a $200,000 grant sitting out there.
Yeah, I've heard that we're going to get it, but the money's not in the bank yet.
Well, the problem is you've got to, same kind of deal, you've got to own the land, you've got to have a plan, because what we did is we asked for the whole amount, which at that time was, I don't know, 700,000 or something. Well, since they don't give you the whole amount, you then have to tell them what you're going to do with that partial amount. So we have to retune that, and we've got to have a plan. And when we have enough plans that we could put together, it's a matter of fact of a location and and we've got to pull the trigger on that pretty quick. We'll probably lose it because it's time to go after that other half of that grant. I don't know who I'm looking at, somebody over there. Somebody, planning, engineering, parks, airport. Oh, okay. No, he's got his plate loaded.
I would like to ask, you have to have that 501c3 in order before you can get money donated or get that project started up off the ground.
The Title 60 Trust, it's set up under what type of arrangement as far as if it's a Title 60?
You draft it up, it's nonprofit, what you have to do
Okay.
is decide which government entity is going to be the beneficiary.
Okay.
In this case, it's probably the city.
Right.
And then you just, at that point, you start deciding how many people you want on it,
Okay.
what the terms are going to be, and basically what the main purpose of it's going to be.
Okay. And also, just I remembered now that the skate park group set up got set up under the community grants, the 501c3 Community Foundation. So anybody that wants to contribute right now to the skate park can do it through the 501c3 that the skater set up. That's
You can transfer it over.
well, or that's right into the skate park. But this would be a separate entity. You got somebody that wants to give some money? We'll set that up right away.
No, but I was asking so, public would know.
Right.
Because I thought we were on a time frame.
Right. And I don't, obviously temporarily, I guess you could set up something under the community foundation. I don't know. Is that, and then can you transfer it, or is it's got to be filed and?
I wouldn't want you to do something
Yeah.
or something like that.
How long does that take normally? You have to go to the Secretary of State's office to set that up, or who's that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, it needs to be a high priority, either way. So, but you're right, and and then going right back to the discussion we're going to have probably with tennis courts, trying to repair the tennis courts we have. We pushed them off. We did a little patch job again, and they, frankly, at least need an overlay. And I did talk to Superintendent Bradford about trying to partner on the ones at the high school, and she was a little lukewarm to that at this point because of the cost to the Performing Arts Center and the Early Childhood Center and the competition gymnasium and the track and some of those other things. So that didn't seem to be a real high priority to her. So, but ours should be. I mean, it's as far as Woodland or whatever.
Didn't we resurface their parking lot out there a year or two ago?
And they paid for the material and we provide the labor and the machine.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Now that we're throwing all these irons in the fire, I got one more I'd like to mention.
Okay.
City parks, Lions Club Park, Boy Scout Park. We have 2 parks out at the lake.
Right.
And we also have a boat ramp that really needs a partner out there. Some of those weekends last summer when we opened the lake up, people were lined up all the way out to the highway waiting on one boat ramp. I don't know what a boat ramp would cost. I have no idea. But I think we ought to get staff to look into that too. Because there's a lot of people from outside of Shawnee come down I-40 and cut over, what's the road that leads to the casino? They cut across there and go to the lake.
102
Yeah, 102. But I think we ought to pay a little more attention to the public parks we have out at the lake.
Well, we have another one that's been proposed by Dr. Taryn with the Kiwanis Club to, where they have the day camp, the 8th grade day camp, middle school day camp, 7th grade, I guess, actually. And that virtually wouldn't cost us much. He's got the electricity covered, he says, and there is a well and a septic out there. There was a house there, and so it's another area. And I think the Lake Association, right, Linda, agreed to kind of keep it up, or maintain it. So we have another opportunity for another park out there as well. So you're right. I mean,
I don't think they'd run us off, the Lake Association.
And we didn't talk about basketball courts either.
Right.
And whether for the ones we have now, we talked about some of the tennis courts that we have. Are they better utilized as basketball courts in addition to tennis? Maybe I don't know, but when we've just kind of talked about it around and about, but never come up with a decision. And then the other, although it's not always used for recreation, the municipal auditorium. I think the director there She couldn't be here tonight, but she wanted to join us next time. I think we have a bid opening, but she's got some ideas too about partnering, private-public partnering on that facility also. But, you know, that
For
is,
recreational activities.
yeah, so that's coming up too.
Okay, good. Well, I'm sure that, you know, when's the last time that we had, I don't know what to call them, new toys at some of the parks for the kids, you know, something that's, you know, newer, upgraded, whatever. And we have another park on the north side that's like up north Market or no, Louisa Park somewhere, I don't know, kind of about. Yeah, thank you. 34th in Market, yeah. That really hasn't developed. So we, you know, we have, and
Yes.
things growing north, and we should have those opportunities. So, I mean, like I said, let's just throw it all out there, you know, the whole thing.
I have a question for you. Is that park or ball field down by the bowling alley? Do they still use that? Who uses that? Baseball or?
My understanding, the YMCA uses it quite a bit.
Is that, but that's city property?
Yeah.
Okay. It's got lights, I know that, and the question came up or when, on a phone call was, when they put the new school out there, they took out
Right.
2 baseball fields. And I was just kind of curious about that, and then Commissioner over there mentioned girls softball. They still play softball down at Milstead, at Loftus Park down there, Don Loftus Park?
Right.
Okay. Well, I was concerned about that ball field over there by the bowling alley.
Well, I really believe it's high time we put our money where our mouth is, or vice versa. And as early as the next meeting, I'd like to have staff look into this funding situation and see if we can let loose with some funds to at least start the skate park and maybe start 1 or 2 other projects.
Cleveland was promised in last year's budget meetings to make sure that we built the skate park through the next budget. We did put things aside, and we said we're going to build the skate park. We
Put it
guarantee
on
to
the
build it.
agenda and do something.
Okay.
This is just discussion. We're not making any considerations tonight.
The problem is no more money came in. That was the problem.
Yeah, if I could make a point on those lines, I mean, what I have to work with as the city manager is $72,000 on skate.
Right.
Now, if you want to make a reallocation in terms of shifting these funds around, that gives me a lot more options.
Right.
But again, I need a design to bid off of.
Right.
Okay, and there is some.
What about the funding? Now, BOK says we can use that money. Do you need something, John? Do we need something in writing?
From this group.
Yep.
From y'all.
I think we have to set priorities too. You know, what are our priorities on current infrastructure? What are our priorities for building new? You know, because the pool might be considered a current one, but a skate park is a new one. So what do we need to put into maintaining or upgrading the current ones? And like you said, there's a lot of things that go into current. I mean, all of our parks could be considered part of current. And then how much do we want to consider for new facilities?
I'm assuming by talking to some of the soccer association people, they're satisfied with the location that they're playing at now on West Independence. I mean,
It's not real convenient.
This evening, I had a soccer mom who said to me, don't free up that money for anything else other than a regional park. We want soccer fields. We need good soccer fields.
Well, we could call 12 acres a
So-
regional park.
Well, it needs to be bigger than that.
They do want bleachers. They want more facilities.
Well, I mean, I think you've got enough money to really do it right and have a competition field and have a lot of other good practice fields that could be divided up if you needed to for younger ages. And I mean, I've had this discussion with Scott Warren for 4 years now. And, you know, just to get it all in one place with the right kind of infrastructure is the key, where you could have, you know, some kind of utilities to it, maybe some lights and things. I mean, that would go a long way. So let's, you know, if we're not going to build this thing, then at least let's make something decent for soccer, where we've got parking and and the utilities, and they're
Restrooms.
looking at a smaller chunk of land. I mean, if you could get 20 or 30 acres together like that, you could probably make that happen, and still have some money to boot for skate park and maybe some towards the pool or other parks.
As far as helping the soccer association out, like I said, that's a work in progress that the city manager is working on along with the city attorney. It's something we can't discuss right now, but it will be coming up in the next couple months, I assume.
Sure, hope so.
Okay, but I think Commissioner Young is right. I think we ought to start next meeting with an agenda item to fund the skate park.
And we do have some designs and we have prices, and so be happy to share those. Matter of fact, I will email. I have to send one to your packet, or I can send it to your daughter.
Gloria, yeah.
But it has this same information with the design, and comes in a PDF. So I'll send it out. You guys take a look at it.
Just a couple clarification questions. I counted 10 items that I wrote down just now. Okay.
We got on a roll.
I have money in the budget this year for the skate park of $72K. We've got $200,000 for the pool. We've got money in about $100,000 in the municipal auditorium for
Sprinkler. Right.
And we had talked the last 2 years about this coming budget year, put another 100 or so for air conditioning in the municipal auditorium.
But now it's coming back. It was 148 for the sprinkler.
Came back high on the sprinkler, that's correct. So I guess I get back to the prioritization point that was made a few minutes ago. Do anything you want us to do, it would be helpful if I could have a few specific ones. Skate park, the pool's already in play.
But we know that 200,000 is probably not going to take care of that. And what I would consider, I mean, not short term, not next year, but we don't need to wait 10 years to do anything with that pool. So relatively soon, we need to.
All of them are priorities.
I think it would be prudent to fast track some of these that we can fast track, like the skate park.
Skate park would be logical.
And Lions Club Park, to get that back in shape after the construction is done.
Yeah, we were going to do that anyway, once that was all cleared up out there.
And even the two parks at the lake, I think, deserve some attention. That's not going to cost a ton of money.
About to say, maybe you could send somebody out to just kind of survey the city parks to see what type of maintenance and cosmetic work needs to be done.
He could probably tell you right now.
Over
just
and
give us an
above what
idea.
we traditionally
Over and
budget
above-
for that, because we do
Exactly.
budget equipment replacement, maintenance, we do budget that every year too. So is this the year that we need to take a bump up and repair and replace
Right,
specific
replace some
things?
of the little kid toys at the parks.
How many do we have? Six. I've heard 16, and I've heard 23. How many parks do we have?
2.
We have a mess of
23?
23. Okay.
23 equals a mess.
them.
Okay. Within looking at our parks as well, I think we ought to look at some of the civic organizations and try to do some partnerships to help clean up some of these parks, help maintain some of the parks. Even though we do have a park staff, we may be able to come across some flowers and more trees to be planted in these parks. I mean, some of the parks haven't been touched in many years. Some of the same playground equipment there needs some paint. Needs some paint on it. But we know city staff cannot handle all of this, and so we need to partner up with the citizens of this community, because once again, when you bring everybody into the picture and start taking ownership and have a little bit more pride in what we're doing, I believe that we will have it just make a better community, a better quality of life. And it's not so much of a strain on a handful of employees that we have in the parks department. Years ago, we had a recreation department. Ken Leone, once he left the city and went into education, we just dropped the whole thing. And so we don't have anybody taking care of the parks. We don't have the programs that I believe we need are the programs that start from the small ages, 3 or 4 years old. Those kids are playing nowadays across America. We don't do it here in Shawnee because we don't have the facilities. They want to play soccer at a young age and grow that all the way up. Well, the city should provide that, in my opinion. The basketball courts we have in the city of Shawnee are very limited. We have absolutely 0 gyms in Shawnee. So why is our basketball program not at the top all the time? We have no foundation. So we have the municipal auditorium, which is the only city-owned gymnasium here, and it's not available to the public. It's shut off. If you want to get inside of it, you have to go through a few hoops and strings to get there. We need something available for our kids. We need some more basketball courts. But once again, you start building these programs from the bottom up, and it will help out with our education program. So once again, I just think that partnerships are what we need to encourage.
We can have some work days in the park. How's that?
Sounds good.
Would also like to recommend that if we should consider taking some funds from any one of these and putting it into something else, let's just say everything's on the table, that maybe we try to be specific about what that money is spent for. Instead, even if, say, an additional $100,000 for maintenance of parks. Let's say that that's to replace a merry-go-round and to add equipment for under 6 and to pave. I mean, I don't know, but let's try to make it as specific as we can, what our ideas are, so that it doesn't get lost. We don't know what happened, and maybe that was spent on overtime to mow the grass because it grew longer during the season and we had to hire temporaries. I mean, I don't know. You know, I don't know. So I think we need to have a feel, because this is capital, and we need to know what it was spent on, and if it's one swing or 500 swings, we need to know that. You know, you can look at a skate park and you can look at a swimming pool and know what it is, but we have said that some of these other things need maintenance. Well, let's be kind of specific so we can look at that merry-go-round that's not there, but something else is there instead. And we know that that was part of where the money went, that was considered an upgrade.
Okay. All ready to move on? Okay. There's some rough direction for you. Okay, number 9, consider authorizing city manager to spend an additional $10,000 on contract for planning services during the community development director search.
I'm continuing to have problems. The market, this last few days, we've got a couple of people that found that baseline criteria for planning director. A lot of cities every city's having the same problems. And I just can't do this without having helping me.
So how much longer will that get you by?
I don't have,
How far does 10,000 go?
What do you run?
Do you want me to tell you?
About how much a month do you run?
Well, this month will be different than last month's. September, for example, there was one city council commission meeting, one planning commission, 2 items. December, January, there were 6 items. This month, there's one city commission meeting, 2 planning commission meetings, board adjustment meeting, and there's this many items on each one. So the development of Shawnee is increasing
All right.
compared to
We know that.
the areas in the
We know.
region. And the items, the number of cases, just, that's the number that goes up.
Give us a high and
Averaging
low.
between 5,000 and 7,000 a month is what's going to average.
Okay.
This goes up.
5 and 7.
Been averaging about a little over 5, but this month's going to be higher because of twice the many meetings that are necessary.
Okay, so,
6 weeks.
yeah,
6 weeks.
6 to 8 if we're lucky, probably 6, you're right.
6.
Okay,
I'm doing the best I can, y'all. The market's just not there. I mean, I'm getting people applying that have like 3 courses in landscape architecture and a high school education. And now it's just, I can't just hire just to be hiring.
And these are funds that we probably had already allocated for a community development director. It's just, I mean, and, you know, we okayed that position in a budget. We just didn't okay the service also. So what we're really asking for is another transfer of funds, since we don't have that person to pay
Right.
contract for that.
It's like a
pulling it
transfer
out of
from what their
salary line.
salary would be over
That's
to
correct.
just the contract.
Right.
Yeah. I'd like to have 15.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that, we have so many other meetings going on right now too, that I'm not sure 10,000 is enough for the time frame that
It's
we're
really
looking
not.
at.
I'd like to modify this.
To
now
15?
15.
Somebody cue it up. Let's get after it.
All right, I make a motion to authorize the city manager to spend an additional $15,000 on contract for planning services during the community development director search.
Motion by Vice Mayor Peterson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Young. Other discussion? Call roll, please.
Peterson.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Schram.
Aye.
O'Neill. Mills.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, thank you. Number 10, presentation by staff and McNair Pake LLC. Haven't seen that one before. Oh, okay. On ADA self-evaluation and transition plan.
I'm sorry. I didn't bring it down.
Minutes too.
Oh, never mind, I already got it.
I'm really happy to see our audio visuals working for once.
Yes, but I can't figure out how to get that screen to move over.
Scoot it over.
So it seems to always be to the left a little bit. So I guess.
Yeah.
So, it's, well, we'll have to guess on what those words mean, but I think you can guess on some of those. I noticed earlier in the evening that the presentations were kind of offset to the left for some reason, but that's what we'll do. Okay. American with Disabilities Act. I guess mostly all of us are familiar with this title. It's termination. These terms. Americans with Disabilities Act was adopted in 1990. It's a civil rights act that mandates equal opportunity for individuals with disabilities. The ADA prohibits discrimination in access to jobs, public accommodations, government services, public transportation, and telecommunications. Title I of the ADA is employment practices. Title II is policies, programs, and services. Title III is public accommodations and private entities. Title IV is telecommunication services for hearing impaired and speech impaired. And Title V is accessibility guidelines. And you may be wondering why I'm making the presentation tonight, so I'm going to tell you, is that in the past year or more, there have been a lot of discussion about the ADA. In fact, the 1990 Act required communities to actually do a transition plan within 6 months to a year from that date. And majority of cities in the United States have not complied with that. I think I said it was within 6 months to a year after the day that the act was accomplished. 1990.
Date was January 26, 1992. Transition plan was supposed to be done.
Okay.
Okay.
In August of this year, Federal Highways Association sent the city of Shawnee a letter requiring that they do the transition plan, and so that is why we're kind of at this point now. So more of a mandate. The staff, the city manager, and I have met with the FHWA once or twice during the last fall, and we're reaching kind of getting to that point. So what I'm going to tell you tonight is kind of what we're being required to do and how we're going to accomplish that. Title II, Section 504, as I commented, has to do with public access ways. Section 504 requires the state and local governments with 50 or more employees to perform a self-evaluation of their current services, policies, and practices that they do not or may not need ADA requirements. Once identified, the public agency must develop a transition plan addressing the deficiencies that have been identified in your evaluation. The plan needs to assess the needs of persons with disabilities and then schedule the required pedestrian accessibility upgrades. The transition plan is to be updated periodically. The plans that the cities do within the states are supposed to be used by the state in their formulation of their NPO plans and their statewide transportation projects. And in Oklahoma, there's probably less than I can count on my hand the cities that have actually done transition plans. There's also maybe a dozen or less cities that are in the same situation we are currently, having received a letter saying that they need to comply. We're kind of in the midst of that group. Federal Highway Administration is a kind of a modal administration within the U.S. Department of Transportation. The other sections of this is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the Federal Transit Administration, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, the Federal Railroad Administration, and Maritime Administration. FHWA has been given responsibility, their main responsibility is to deliver the highway program. It partners also with the Departments of Transportation, such as Oklahoma Department of Transportation, the Metropolitan Planning Organizations, such as the COE, which is located here in Shawnee. Private sector consultants, environmental, construction design, and others are all partnered in with that, including local agencies such as the City of Shawnee, colleges and universities like OBU, which are also located in Shawnee. Something didn't go wrong there. So I can get back to where I was. Okay. Here we go. Okay, FHWA also implements several major programs. One of them is Equal to Opportunity organization, the Americans with Disability Act, Disadvantaged Business Enterprises, DBEs, on-the-job training and contractor compliance, and internal equal employee opportunities. So they have several programs that they are oversight on. The Civil Rights Compliance Responsibility is stationed in Washington, but they have several resource centers and several other offices. The local office is the Oklahoma City FHWA office. And some may want to have information about the need for accessibility programs. 20%, which is 54 million people in the U.S. population over the age of 15 have a disability, and that's from the 2000 census. 17 million Americans have serious hearing disabilities, and 10 to 20 million have visual impairments. There are a lot of impairments that affect the ability to travel and navigate and interpret the public right-of-way. Some of those require wheelchairs, walker canes. They may be physical, like heart and lung conditions, which are not obvious when you just look at someone, visual or low vision or blind, hearing, deaf, hearing impaired, and other problems such as autism and brain injury. The public entity obligations under Title II are first to not discriminate against qualified individuals with disabilities and to maintain accessible features such as sidewalks, curved ramps, and pedestrian ways, provide equal access to programs and services, and non-discrimination employment. The public entity's obligation under Title II in Section 504 is first to designate an ADA compliant coordinator, to develop a complaint grievance procedure, to provide public notice obligations under the ADA 504 program, develop and implement a self-evaluation, and develop and implement a transition plan. The public notice obligations are to inform the public that the city is going to undertake a self-evaluation or transition plan, and to also let the public know on a formal basis in all the dealings that the city will have that they do not discriminate on the basis of disabilities. The public notice needs to provide information such as the name, address, and phone number of the local ADA compliant officer, and how they can make a complaint, and also to provide the notifications in other forms such as braille, large text, and audio recordings. The coordinator for the ADA program serves a lot of tasks. One is to serve as the primary contact point for the public on the ADA compliant issues, the person that the complaints would go to. The compliant officer would have a relationship with the stakeholders such as the disability advocacy groups and government agencies. Monitors the policies, the programs of the cities to make sure they are compliant to the ADA policies. The ADA officer would investigate and resolve complaints filed under the ADA grievance procedures that the city would adopt, and also monitors and updates the implementation of the self-evaluation and the transition plan. The ADA officer would also provide or coordinate the provision of requested auxiliary aids and reasonable accommodation to individuals with disabilities. The ADA officer may have some persons assigned to provide those as needed in different areas, such as parks or in public accommodation areas. The grievance procedures are one of the issues that need to be complied with and adopted by the city, so that there is a formal complaint process that someone can follow, and those procedures outlines how the grievance will be dealt with and final action taken on each one. The self-evaluation plan is a kind of a precursor to the transition plan. It's required by ADA. It identifies services, policies, practices that are not accessible. And it's a 3-year plan over time, which needs to be updated. The corrective action that's identified in the self-evaluation plan is part of the transition plan.
Could you articulate that
Sure.
a little differently? Just restate that.
Okay, the self-evaluation plan is, and I'm going to get to it in just a second, is a study that identifies what issues there are in the public right-of-way in the city that are not complying with ADA. It's a data collection. Let me get to the right here. I'm going to get some more, but it is the precursor to the actual transition plan. It's a data collection part of the transition plan. It's the first step. Title II ADA transition plans. The purpose of the whole process is to eliminate the structural barriers to state, local government buildings and facilities. Who is responsible? It's the state and local government agencies that have responsibility for roads, highways, and pedestrian facilities. In this section of Title II, we're talking specifically about public rights-of-way. Anything within the public rights-of-way or on public property. The transition plan is composed of first designated a compliance officer, have a self-evaluation process, public input and notice, and then form an advisory committee which represents all applicable sectors of the organization to assist in the effort. The transition plan advisory committee members could be anyone that's so designated. This is an advisory committee that's part of the plan process. There's a list of persons that are identified up there. This list came from FHWA. I didn't make it up, so it's a not all-encompassing list. It's just a few that they have on their suggested list. The transition plan starts with self-evaluation. And the following process, I'm going to talk about the study for curb ramp and pedestrian rights-of-way. The process in self-evaluation is to first compile an inventory of all the locations that need to be made accessible, such as streets, intersections, sidewalks, curb ramps, anything within the public rights-of-way.
That's
every single curb ramp, sidewalk on public rights-of-way in the city of Shawnee has to be put into an inventory base and evaluated as to its compliance to ADA. And in that evaluation process, you first have to evaluate whether it meets ADA and in what capacity does it or does it not. It could be anything from slope to infill to it doesn't have the right passing lane. Second, you need to prioritize the locations that you need to modify, whether it's city hall, schools, location of transportation facilities, location of the places. There's a prioritization process that you'll need to go through to identify what is going to be done first. The cost for such a project could be fairly large, and so you're going to have to prioritize what's more important. And then obviously the last one is to actually identify the required modification and make projects out of it. Is it curb ramps? Where are they? How much they cost? What's required? Is it an infill or is it new or is it reconstruction? There's all kinds of problems that can be found at a curb ramp, so each one has to be identified to that. These are some issues which had to be dealt with at that time. Once the inventory and self-evaluation is complete, it's basically all the inventory of everything in the public right-of-way in the city of Shawnee, evaluated as to its compliance with ADA, and decide on what type of improvement or modification has to be done to bring it into compliance, then the transition plan can be underway. You have to identify each item as a project, whether it's a curb ramp, infill, sidewalk improvement. Every issue has to be identified as a project, and that project then the engineer's got to take and do his magic on and create a engineering plan that says this is what has to be done. It has to have a set of plans to do the project, and then each plan has to have an assigned cost, engineering estimate for each of those projects. And then once you have actual projects listed, sidewalk on 6th Street between this walk and that walk, or whatever the project is, and some preliminary plans and some preliminary estimates, and then again you go through the prioritization project because now you've got costs assigned. and you know if you've got $2 million or $40 million of projects. And at that point, you're now identifying the funding sources, and you have to determine a timing and sequence of scheduling the projects. The city of Sacramento scheduled their projects over a 30-year period. So it could take 5 years or 30 years, depending upon how many projects you have. The city of Columbus, Ohio has $40 million in sidewalk and curb ramp improvements that they've been doing since 2001. And that's, of course, 6 years ago. I don't know what it would cost today under that same scenario. But that's getting down to the actual transition plan is now the bottom end of all this we've discussed. But other things to consider while you're doing the transition plan is to develop the procedure for installation of those facilities. As it's going on, there's the process of what we're actually going to do on each one there is going to have to be done during that whole process time. It's not done today. You have to also eventually monitor the transition plan and feed that information back to FHWA that not only have you done the plan and you've set the time and you've set the projects, also have to feed back to them your milestones and have you accomplish them down the line. And you need to provide the avenue also for citizens to not only, the city's going to do a study, but the citizens have the right for input. There's a whole process of public input and being part of the whole plan. But even after the plan is finished, there still needs to be another process whereby a citizen can come back in and say, you need to go look at this. This has changed since 2 years since you did the plan, and maybe you need to reevaluate it and move it up on the prioritization plan, or maybe it wasn't even identified to begin with on the little overlooked side. So it has to be a process for continued public input even after the plan's finished. And then there needs to be a coordination with any other planning that's done in the city of Shawnee. For instance, the pedestrian master plan or bike plans, or the TIP and STIP, all the highway projects that come in need to be coordinated as well with a transition plan as you go on into the future. Sorry about that. I actually got this off another part of this office other thing. Okay, but as conclusion here, there's 3 phases that I've been talking about for this process. The phase 1 is what we're actually in right now. Phase 1 is determining and coming up with a process and a procedure that how we're going to proceed on from this point. The process, procedures for self-evaluation, the format the transition plan will take to go ahead and come up with a draft grievance procedures, adopt them, deal with the public notice on the timing and the city's going to be starting the project, and all the other public notice issues that go with this. For instance, the public notice that goes out for public meetings needs to have some comments on there at the bottom, as you usually see, about it's ADA compliant, and you make accessible issues when there's problems, that notification number and an ADA compliant officer, and also provide outline how you're going to provide opportunity for public input. That is the phase 1, and that is actually the phase that we're in today. Once we end phase 1, we'll have a document that then outlines how phase 2 and how phase 3 are going to proceed. Phase 2 and phase 3 is the actual plan process, and in fact the engineering department has already started the data collection, and they have been actually doing it for some time. But as you can imagine, in the city of Shawnee there's a lot of sidewalk curb cuts and other things that have to be evaluated. I think that if I'm right, John, they've already counted handicap parking spaces in the downtown area as an example of one issue that has to be addressed, is being addressed. Where they are, the number they are. So that's it's one of these small things, but it's part of the whole process. And as a matter of fact, in talking with FHW, I thought it was interesting. One of the items that was on the docket tonight, although it was continued, was the 911 process to be upgraded, and that in effect is an ADA compliant issue. And the city of Shawnee is already looking at that and will eventually be in compliance just because of the advancement in your 911 process. So it's, even though we don't actually sit down and think about some of these things, the city of Shawnee actually is making progress in these areas, just as a 911 process. So this is the 3 phases that we're looking at. And again, the first phase, which we are actually discussing tonight, and which would end up with a report at the bottom of it, is phase 1. And from that point forward, phase 2 and phase 3 would fall in the line, and actually end up, phase 2 and phase 3 would actually be just one document first part of the document would be the self-evaluation, data collection, et cetera, and the second part would be the transition plan. We don't have a time frame hard and fast. FHWA has kind of been asking every, when are you going to get it done, 30 days, a year, but they want a time frame, and which is probably their basic bottom line is that if it's going to be 6 months or if it's going to be a year and a half, give us a time frame. When are you going to do these items? And so in this first phase, we will have to give them a scheduled timing of when these other things in phase 2 and phase 3 will occur. And
that date they want, what's that date mean? That's completed, starting, or what?
they don't have a deadline at the moment.
So you put some kind of date in the state.
Yes, there isn't one. For example, the city of Sacramento has a 30-year time frame on their project.
I'm talking about one, and you gotta have, for each project, you're gonna have a date.
That's correct.
A beginning date or completion date.
For each project, that's right.
The question,
Once the plan's in, it'll be in the transition plan,
is that supposed to be a completion date or a beginning date?
a completion date.
Either one.
Mr. Sims, this is a presentation,
I'm
and
sorry.
you've had your comment, I appreciate it, and you will have input into this process, so, we've got to make this decision now and move on here, and I appreciate your comments, but
Transition plan will have in it cost estimating, funding sources, and timing of when the city anticipates these projects being done, fiscal year 2010, fiscal year 2009, fiscal year 2011, that type of scheduling process, as you would any capital improvement program that you might undertake.
This is a lot of work, and we just don't have the staff. I've got to go outside and do it.
Well, how long do you think it's going to take you to do all of this? Because it sounds like an awful lot of work. I mean, this to me, I'm looking at it thinking, this could take 18 to 24 months
Yes.
to put something like this
Okay.
together.
The first phase won't take that long, and we're hoping that if we could get a small study group together, because it's really procedures and process. How do you want to proceed? How do what are the fine detail issues on the grievance procedures, things like that. The phase 2 and phase 3, you're right, will take a while. It depends upon who's going to be doing it. Are you going to have your staff, your engineering staff do it? You hire an outside consultant? Do you have a group of citizens in the city of Shawnee get together and do it? It's whatever process that's decided upon at phase 2 that determines the time frame, which needs to be looked at the end of phase 1, because again, we need to put a time frame on this whole process. They're not going to want you to end up saying, oh, sometime in the next 30 years we'll get around to doing it. That won't work.
I noticed with all their program requirements, phase 1, 2, 3, 400, however high they go, I don't see anything in here about funding.
Oh, no. That's up to you.
Big secret.
That's up to each entity.
All I see in the next agenda item is they want 10 grand from us. What about us getting something from them?
Gee, wouldn't that be nice?
wanna
For
let
them to
you
pay
know.
for mandates, huh? Has the government ever paid for mandates? I'll let you know.
That's this board's strong suit, funding.
I know. I said I have in the past probably 6 weeks read about 20 or more transition plans, and it doesn't get any brighter down the road. It's.
We got
Have
this.
you written one of these before?
No.
Okay.
We don't get no
Because I was
bottom
going to ask you,
line.
like,
do we?
realistically, how long is it going to take you to write
No.
this? How long?
And I've actually been trying to get with FHWA and say, tell me someone who's done these, a consultant. In fact, the guy at FHWA, the local contact, used to do these before he started working for FHWA. He said he could not even give me that. He said it depends. It all depends upon what kind of city it is, how big you are, you're urban or you're rural. And there's just too many.
And so then you come down to, not to jump ahead, but we're talking about $10,000. Is that realistically going to cover the cost of this?
Phase 1.
Of phase 1. Yeah, see,
And that's just a study and report.
Yeah. Right.
We don't have a
And you really
choice,
think
do
it'll
we?
cover the
No,
cost
we
of
don't
phase
have a
1?
choice.
Are you going to price these on that?
Unless there is a issue of taking 6 or 8 months to review it and get it into a final format, yes, I think that will work fine, but I'm not. I don't think that will
Basically,
be
we
working.
just have to sign the check and not fill in the amount and hand it to them, right?
Of course, phase 2 and 3, that's about. And those two will depend upon whether you go out for a consultant on phase 2 and 3, or whether you have it done in-house, or whether, it depends on how you decide to do it. John Carter is the only engineer here in the city. Like I say, I don't think that he can,
Okay, and part of phase 1 has already been complete, or we're working on it,
we're working
right?
on that. That's part of this, right, that I'm doing.
Yeah. John, how much of...
Oh, the self-evaluation, he started working on data collection, which is in phase 2.
Yeah. So have we started phase 1 or not? I mean, John's kind of shaking his head yes, like...
Yes, I have.
How much of phase 1? Like 1% of phase 1, or...
The engineering department started the data collection.
Okay. And Nancy, you started phase?
I've started phase 1 because been doing all the research, and I've been, working on that.
Can I interject? I'm sorry, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Jimmy made a statement a minute ago that phase 1's already been done.
Phase 1 is done.
Why do you say that?
Okay. Process
Sorry, I
and
won't hear
procedures,
you.
self-evaluation, paperwork, format. So what? We already got formats for it. Adopt a grievance procedure, started in the paper we gave you. Public notice, put it in the paper today. Nobody knew this was going to happen. I didn't know it except to look on the internet. Put that in paper. Public notice is done. Opportunity for public input. That would be it. Wait and pay $10,000 when I want to. Don't waste the city's money.
Nancy, could you respond to that at some level, please? I believe this is a little bit more.
Well, number one, it has to be in writing in a formal document submitted to FHWA for approval.
That's correct.
And there's nothing.
Jim, I respectfully disagree with some of your statements here. I appreciate your comments, but we do have some mandates that we need to follow per our directives we received from the
Okay, have you held a transition plan in your hand? Have you held a transition plan in your hand?
No, we don't have one.
Do you know anybody that does have one?
There are some other cities.
I've read about 20 or 30 of them online. They've ranged anywhere from 20 pages to 250 pages.
I'm sure.
It just depends.
We cannot, there's not a cookie cutter transition plan available. It has to be
What does
individualized to
ADA
the.
say you have to have? What does ADA say you have to have a transition?
Well, I have a document here. It's 77 pages
wait,
long.
wait. What does ADA
I have a document that's 77 pages long if you'd like to read it.
What is it? What's the 3 things? You're making it so complicated.
We are following the directives.
I'm following the
It's the
directives.
federal government.
Yeah.
It is complicated.
Hey, I've been at this, been hearing about this since 1990. You're making this so complicated. You don't have to have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You have to do it.
Yes, the actual federal government would like us to submit it right now in one document, but in order to buy us the time down the road, we break it up into phases, and they said that would work okay.
Well, I know your frustration, and coming into this 4 years ago, I realize how complex and slow government is because of things like this. Out in the private industry, we just go do it and figure out how much it's going to cost and go do it. We don't do that. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people to answer to, and when you're dealing with the federal government, it even gets more complex. So let's move on to number 11, if you guys want to. There's a little action going on here. And consider authorizing McNair Pake to assist the city of Shawnee in the preparation of an ADA self-evaluation transition plan at a cost of $10,000. I don't know if we can say up to $10,000. Hopefully it wouldn't take all that.
No,
Especially if we have some parts of it
We have
done.
no choice, right? We have to do this.
We have to do it. So, I mean, it's a matter of what is it going to cost, and if we can minimize that, if some of these things are done, we'd love to have that
I think
done.
phase 1, just getting to the
Right.
document that outlines how to proceed on to self-evaluation, which includes the grievance procedures, and et cetera, and there are some forms that are all required. All those would be handled in that 10,000.
They're going to assist you in drawing up phase 1. Is that what you're telling us? The $10,000, where's it going?
Phase 1.
Okay. We don't know the cost of 2 and 3.
No.
And is part of the process and procedures to understand in Phase 1, some of the details that we might want to put in place for some of our ongoing projects right now. Like, say that we have sidewalk ordinances that require certain ramps and slopes and markings for vision impaired and those
That's already
kinds.
in
And we've done some of
documents.
those things. I mean, we have some of that in our documents already.
Right.
Would this also include an evaluation of, did we mention the right, do we have the right wording in our public notification? And, I mean, some of those, do we have some cleanup work there that we need to do? Do we have some things that need to come to us in our ordinance that say that implementation of this would meet a requirement coming up in our ADA requirement? I mean, it's not just like at a whim, is it nice to do, but this will be required in the future. We might as well start
Well,
doing those kinds of things now.
It might, a little of that. This specifically is related to sidewalks and curb ramps within the right-of-way, public rights-of-way. This project entails.
Okay.
Yet in the future, there will be requirements down the road to hit everything in the public realm. Yeah, and in fact, I think there's been discussion of communication between us already about some issues that I've kind of brought forward that, as I read through the transition plans, identify areas that I don't know if they meet the ADA because I'm not familiar with some things on the computer and the website and have relayed on. And this is not specifically intended to do that, but we'll identify everything we can as we go through it.
Right.
Things that do crop up.
That we can nip in the bud as they come
Sure.
before us right now instead
Sure.
of having to readdress 10 years from now possibly.
Well, they may still have to be readdressed 10 years from now. I just, yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Mr. Tracy, it
A
would
motion.
be up to Timco.
Okay. We have a motion? Somewhere. Or face the consequences
Yeah.
from Big Brother.
In the face of what has been required from us, from the federal government, and I guess communication with them has further explained what's actually required, not just what we would like to do or like to implement, but we are now under mandate to expand the program beyond what maybe we originally thought. I mean, it has more details in it. There's a lot more, it's not just paperwork. There's a lot more processes. There's a lot more details. There's a lot more coordination of just saying we're going to do something and getting that all into all of our ordinances, all of our written procedures, everything so that it doesn't fall through the cracks later on. I mean, this is a much larger program than probably any of us anticipated seeing, just the scope of it. And with that said, and with the mandate that we now have to do these things per the process that they are requiring us to do, not per our own process, I would make the recommendation to spend this money to allow this process and preparation to take place. I respectfully understand Jim's concerns, but I believe that this is bigger than what we thought it was.
Motion by Vice Mayor Peterson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Holt. Other discussion?
Jack, give you a little. The city of Shawnee had one mediation process for this. The year it came, that's when Franklin, not so other than that. And they went over it and said, okay, this and this, what are you doing? I said, well, we're done this, we'll fix this, fix this, fix this. I want to tell you, that ramp to the library is great. Got that carpet off there.
Push up that thing, set straight up. Thank you. Good job. The mediator said, hey, you've got a transition plan, you just don't have it down on paper. What they want to see you got something, you're doing something. They're not worried about if you got every I, T, crossed.
Well, we're gonna cover our bases, and maybe it won't cost us anything, but we're gonna spend up to that amount. So call roll, please.
Okay.
Peterson.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Tran.
I find it hard, but aye.
O'Neill.
Aye.
Mills.
Aye.
Young.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Linda, do you want to say one final thing before I move on to 12?
No.
Okay, thank you. 12, discuss building code, Board of Appeals.
This is mine. And what precipitated this was some concerns that were expressed for appealing the staff's recommendations of interpretations of the building code. If you'll see on the agenda, this is discuss only. I'm simply introducing the idea and allowing us to start thinking about how to approach this. It has some far-reaching ramifications. We presented to you in here what the building code recommends, or is the BOCA code states about it. We are not tied to this, as I indicated in one of my memos on another issue. We have no pride of authorship on this thing. So it's simply to tell you that I think that we do need to consider having a mechanism for appealing staff's decisions. It will take a process of visiting with a variety of interested groups, stakeholders, and so on. And I'm just kind of opening the ball right now.
Okay.
Be happy to answer any initial questions on it. This is something that was prepared by our chief building inspector.
And this has expired. I mean, we had this at one point and started in 86, and it expired sometime. We just need to tune it up again.
Yeah, and again, it was pointed out, rightfully so, that we need to visit with the Home Builders Association and a variety of other groups. That was always the intent. I'm simply putting it out here so we can start talking about it.
I'm certainly open to input. There's no question. I mean,
This pertains to all building codes, even electrical, plumbing, everything?
Yeah, I believe we.
Do we want coordination between the city commission and these groups, or are we going to let staff coordinate it with these groups?
I'm sorry, I was distracted.
Well, I guess it's just kind of, I see a question on,
Right.
I mean, we can all read through this and say, okay, this is really not feasible right now, and we need to tweak this a little bit.
Sure.
So do we want that coordination to be done with some of us on the commission
That'd be
and
great.
separate entities, or do we want staff to do that coordination? Or a group of, partly staff, partly commission representatives, partly, what I'm saying?
Sure, I'm open to anything, anyhow. Any way you want to do
We
it.
need to make sure that whatever is the agreement between like staff and various entities, that it's something that's also palatable for the commission as a whole.
Philosophically, and that's really my motivation for putting this on here, I think that code interpretation, there needs to be an appeal process of a staff interpretation. Okay, right now we have like an electrical code appeal board and a few others, but we don't have anything with the building code. Subdivision regulations appeals go to the Board of Adjustment, I think, right? And then a few of them go for Planning Commission, that kind of stuff. Yeah, but there's not really anything in place for appealing a staff interpretation of the building code, per se. So that's my
I noticed on
motive.
page 119 at the bottom paragraph, it mentions the current adopted building codes are 5 years old.
Mm-hmm. That's not.
Are these going to be updated? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know the NEC, National Electrical Code, is usually 3 or 4 years behind.
Yeah.
The city is.
Most cities are 3 to 5 years behind.
And that-
Huh?
206?
Okay.
2006?
200.
Okay. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, we'll be bringing that forward here sometime.
minutes from the last one.
Well, again, that's something we need to visit with the Home Builders Association and so on. I'm just trying to start the dialogue right now.
So
And that's good.
So you don't want our input right now?
No, hey, I'm
Leave the
just,
group?
you bet, take input from this point forward. I'm just saying I think we need to do something along these lines because we've had some questions. People say, no, that interpretation's wrong. Well, then where do they go with it? It's not fair to the builder to not have anywhere to go.
Well, I think the first step is going to be to give the builders in the community the opportunity to look this over, have their meetings, discuss amongst themselves, and either, come
See if
to a
it-
group individually or them as a whole, as an organization, say, okay, these are the things that we like, these are the things we don't like, these are our ideas. And whether they bring them to us as a commission or to staff or to a committee of us, we just need to give them an opportunity to look at this stuff and
Agreed.
kind of
Suits me.
digest it a little bit.
Did we not say here in some meetings quite a while back here that we were going to get together and update some of these codes and talk about some of these codes and set a special meeting? Was that not discussed? Does that have anything to do with what we're doing here?
There's several, yeah, you put a wonderful thing on the table that's incredibly complex. I mean, that was part of the development code that was being presented, and however long ago that was, maybe a year ago, that guy came in, made a presentation, and we said, well, we need to think about this, the presentation. And so that put me as a city manager in an interesting position, particularly with no planning director, that there's still issues that need to be addressed. And I was going to put this under my administrative report. I guess I can kind of do it now. I've submitted a sidewalk ordinance that we're kind of throwing in the mix, that we need to begin to talk about as well with some suggestions. But there are other things that need to be tweaked. We've had several conversations about that. I don't have that checklist with me. Can you come up here? Can I just jump to my administrative report? I think it's in the same rubric. Thank you.
Anything save time.
Sure. We need clarification of the right-of-way acquisition requirement. That's a biggie. We need to consider an amendment to the zoning code to attach conditional use permits for beer and alcohol sales. We have a practice, but we don't have that codified. We need to consider amendment to allow for duplexes to be constructed on one lot, as an example, and a few others. Mobile homes, that comes up periodically. They always put in the same restrictions, but we could codify that and just stop that step for that matter. And we'd be more consistent that way. Driveway standards, and on it goes. It can turn into a swamp that we just get mired down in, and we get overwhelmed by it, so we don't do anything. So rather than do that, I thought, well, let's pick some priorities and address those, and then wait for our next planning director to help guide us through the process.
This sounds great. Can I ask that in the future, all of these things be introduced, I guess, to whether it's the home builders or whoever that's truly impacted by it
Sure.
before it comes to the city commission?
Oh, okay.
I think that would be a really good idea because, we see it comes out on an agenda and everybody goes, wow, they're trying to pass an ordinance. And maybe we could have the dialogue first before we bring it to us as a group, or just.
Oh, okay, that's a sequence issue. I was presenting it to y'all first, and then was going to go to the home builders, but I'll do it the other way around.
I'm just thinking.
Either way is
You
fine.
need to alert us of the issue, so.
Yeah, just say, hey,
Sure.
the issue's out there, and I'm
Right.
sending it over to, the Shawnee Home
Okay.
Builders or whatever.
I
to
can do
talk
that.
about duplexes on one lot.
Yeah, we need to know kind of what that is. I mean, maybe like you did sidewalks. You really just kind of tossed it in our mailbox and said, okay.
Let's start talking about
When
it.
you hear things, this is the document that we're all working from, sort of, and this is where recommendations are coming from. And I mean, I don't want to get a call on this, and I haven't even seen it yet.
Sure.
It's like I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't know what a building code of a board of appeals is. I don't know who sits on it. So
Maybe
if
just
we're out there,
simultaneously.
yeah, just say we're out
Okay.
there discussing these things.
I can do that.
Throw it out, and if we want to read it, fine. And if not, we'll just wait till it comes on our packet, maybe. But Yeah. It needs to be widely distributed.
Okay,
Maybe
that's
put
fine.
it that way.
Again, the intent was to get all this input. It was just a sequence issue. I mean, I report to you all first and
Right.
wanted to tell you what we were considering.
So this, home builders, developers, commercial developers,
Sure.
that whole mix,
You bet.
is there anybody else we're missing in that?
Is there? I don't know.
Anybody else we're missing
Touched?
Anybody else?
that you all?
Architects? Okay.
Okay, we can do that.
Remember, we were supposed to have a list that we kind of work on for that kind of notification.
Mike Southern was supposed
What?
to have created
I don't know what you're
that
talking
list
about.
We talked about
and
this before.
Was supposed to have
Yeah.
gone back and provided notice of, remember when
Oh,
Mike
yeah.
Southern was gonna create a list and go back and give notice, and I don't remember what the issue was.
Probably
But we
the tap
talked
fee.
about
It was
what-
the changing.
Probably a tap fee or
No,
something.
it was, well, no, but it was talking about like
Don't look at me like that.
handicap access into certain buildings, whether it was a new building or a remodel, and we said, you know what,
Oh, yeah.
send it back to the architects.
That's right.
I can guarantee you that never happened. Notice ever
Yeah.
went out, because we never saw that again. It just kind of like, well, let's
Okay,
just
I'll-
put it in a
I'll-
file folder and
I'll
launch
find
it with
that.
job.
Okay.
Right.
So maybe we do need to create a master list,
I'll do that.
so where it's just kind of procedure.
Yeah, I don't know where
Right.
it is right now, so.
So
Okay.
from a procedure standpoint, we know who got notified or who has it, and then if you need to be added to that list, it's real simple to make the official list updated.
Okay, I can do that.
I say we just start the dialogue.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's
you're gonna
the,
have- Okay.
that's again, the reason I put it on here is to discuss
Okay.
with no consideration.
I'm sure there's a need for it.
All right, ready to move on?
Okay. Go on.
14, because we moved 13, or it's deferred it.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, we prefer that.
You ready? Consider.
Oh,
confirming
yeah.
city- Huh?
Yeah, I'm going to stay up here a while.
Okay. Consider confirming city manager's declaration of emergency concerning main break at Shawnee Milling Company.
Mr. Beard was going to be here, but he was called away. We had a big break on a major line running into the mill, and it was underneath the railroad tracks that brought in those incredibly heavy loads. So it turned into a very complex problem we had to address immediately. I had to make a decision. I should have brought it to you sooner, but frankly, I forgot it. So it's late, but it's still procedurally correct. I'm asking that you approve this. We had to spend that kind of money because we could have had a major problem if that line had collapsed with a rail car, or fully loaded rail car on it. I was really sweating that one, watching it every day. So,
So my question is, the bids were put out for boring, but we pipe burst the job, right? So did we still spend 34,000?
no, it came in under that. I wish Jim were here, doggone it. Yeah, 24,000.
I mean, I can understand where you do bids for one thing, you start the project,
Yeah.
and then you find something else,
Something better.
okay?
Yeah.
And then you take care of that, but that is typically not as expensive as what the original plan was.
That's right.
Okay, okay.
Okay. Motion?
Motion to confirm.
Thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Stevens, second by Commissioner O'Neill. Call roll, please.
Stevens?
Aye.
O'Neill? Aye. Mills?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
Holt?
Aye.
Schram?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, thank you. 15, consider bids, a brush pumper skid load unit mounted on an aluminum flatbed body award. Chief?
Yeah. To defer. We're requesting defer for
again.
further
Make a
review.
motion to defer.
Thank
Motion
you.
by Vice Mayor Peterson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Young. Call roll, please.
Peterson?
Aye.
Young?
Aye.
Holt?
Aye.
Stevens?
Aye.
Schram?
Aye.
O'Neill?
Aye.
Mills?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries, thank you. New business,
None.
administrative reports.
I was going to talk about sidewalk ordinance. I've already done that.
Okay.
The next one, Chief, you want to talk about the mill?
Just want to brief you on what's been going on at the mill as far as the grain elevator that we've had some smoldering product in. It was about, I think it was 3 weeks ago today, we were made aware that they had detected some smoldering product in a bin that was full. It had 500 tons of a pelletized product. So we went down that day, assessed the situation. The mill, we leaned on them at that point pretty much on what we could do about that. There was not an intense, it wasn't really an intense situation. They did get a hold immediately of a specialty company to come in and to take care of that, eliminate that product, and they didn't get here until Saturday. They were on another call, so you just don't find companies just in every county that can handle those situations. So the mill worked on it continually that week around the clock, and we were in very close contact with them. That company got here that Saturday, began working on that load that they had in there that was smoldering as they were removing the product. And occasionally they would detect a little bit, some of the product would come out hot, smoldering, that type of thing. So we would be in close contact again and extinguish anything they had, just to help monitor that. And they went several days without any heat. In fact, thought it was out. And then this last Wednesday, they got in some more hot product again. The mill chose to go ahead and evacuate the mill at that time. Just not much had really changed, but they just felt at that time they just felt better about evacuating. So that brought a lot of attention to it. Then when the mill was evacuated, we were there, probably 3 or 4 hours that afternoon. Everything stabilized. It happened again Thursday, and that's when we were able to get a hold of another specialty company, and they actually dealt in more of the combustion end of that. We called that individual Thursday night about 8 o'clock in California, and he was here by 11:30 Friday morning. Assessed the situation, felt really good about it, said we had been doing everything pretty well on target. He was going to take a different approach, and that was introduce carbon dioxide into that. I won't bore you with those details, but he began to do that, and that's where we are today. There's over half, from what I understand from the mill folks, that there's over half of the product has already been removed, but just kept getting into that hot product. And the approach now is the CO2 depletes all the oxygen in there. It's 1.5 times heavier than the atmospheric air, so it'll deplete the oxygen and just remove that part of the fire triangle, and we'll be able to extinguish it before any more is removed. So just wanted to update you. I know there were a couple of articles in the paper this week about it. Just wanted to let you know what was happening down there. That process will probably go on as high as 2 more weeks. They're just saturating that bin with the carbon dioxide. The mill has been very good. We've worked very closely with them. They've taken every precaution. They've exercised a lot of precautionary measures there to keep that a safe situation. So we feel good about it, but it's just going to be a little bit more time.
I want to take this opportunity to compliment Chief Gibson on how well he's handled this, as well as Don Lynch. All the proper steps were taken and the monitoring was done. The chief was out on this at all hours, literally, over the weekend. Was able to brief me. So this situation was under control from the very beginning. And frankly, I want to thank Bill Ford and his crew at the mill for how well they handled it.
As a matter of fact, when the expert got there from California Friday, he said, "There's no need for you to have the mill evacuated. You're in good shape." He said, "Well, we're just going to leave it that way a couple more days." So, but they're in full operation today. So,
Excellent. Okay. Good.
All right.
Good job.
Very good.
That took me back to high school when you started talking about that fire triangle. Had a flashback.
That's it for administrative reports.
Okay.
Are you going to have an update on the Sears building at some point, just what that process was?
I will provide an update on the Sears bill at the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Commissioners' comments?
One, what's the latest on the payment window?
Don? That's Don's project. We're trying to get this dude fixed as quick as we can.
Okay.
It's his project. We'll see what's fine.
While he's doing that, we had another plan, the Master Trails plan, that's been completed and ready for presentation, and that kind of fits into some of the other things we've been talking about. So when is that going to happen?
I'm out.
Okay.
Could you say that again? I'm sorry.
The Master Trails plan is ready to be presented to the City Commission, and It kind of ties into recreation, ADA, I mean, a lot of topics that we're talking about now. So when is that going to be presented to the commission?
I will try to, I will check with the consultant and try to get that on as soon as I can.
Okay. And with that, what about the sign project?
It's coming up.
What is that
next.
called?
Wayfinding.
Wayfinding, thank you.
Gordana wants to make a presentation at our next meeting.
Okay.
She wanted to do it this meeting, but we pushed her off again.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
Timmy?
We have,
Carl's waiting on his answer.
Yeah, Don's here. Don,
Oh,
step up
oh.
and talk about the draft.
Yes, sir. We have identified in the budget where we're going to make some transition of funds within accounts. We're making that done. I have the 2 quotes in, and we're going to start the demolition this week of the overhang, and then we'll get a new awning put up there. So, thank you.
okay, this month, of course, is Black History Month, and we're going to have a celebration. It's going to take place Sunday, February 17th at 3:00 p.m. at Calvary Baptist Church. Going to be part of the gathering here. Let's see, it says and we should invite the public to this gathering. For more information, you can call Dorothy Cooks at 273-3999. I'm sorry, that's 275-3999. If you need more information. But anyway, that's going to be Sunday, February 17th at 3 p.m. Normally have a pretty good time. I'd like to invite the public to come out and enjoy a program and help celebrate. You don't have to be black to celebrate Black History Month.
You're right, that's always a good program. So, still selling horses. I have about 20 sold. Expect to sell about another 10, hopefully. And I'm out pounding the pavement, strong-arming people. So, builders, we could have a building horse, builders type horse, timbers horse, whatever. So, anyway.
I could put one at the new skate park.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it's interesting. I got a call from the high school. They're interested in doing one with their art department, so that'd be really cool. But anyway, we're going to try to get those ordered by the end of this week or first of next week, and start getting this thing rolling again. So pretty exciting. But that's all I've got for now. You guys.
I'd like to thank City Attorney Canavan for his help on securing these funds from BOK, and the city manager's help on looking into possibilities for recreational land acquisitions, which will hopefully be coming up soon, and my fellow commissioners for your input on this, which I think is very important. I think, as Commissioner Young stated, we can't let it die on the vine. We got to push it through. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, I would like to thank Mr. Don Lynch for the trash being moved. They're starting to pick up. But I've been seeing some of the workers, they need to be a little more caution, stop signs, and then when the kids are out there, they're running the stop signs. And I also want to thank you for someone working on the window, that we'll get that window fixed, because we've been having calls about that.
Thank you. I'll be sure, and when I have my conference call in the morning with the contractor, I'll be sure that they have a safety meeting every Wednesday, and I'll make sure that he brings that up again. And we told him that the transportation rules are the transportation rules. Just because this is an emergency, nothing is waived. So we'll make sure that advise them what that octagon means up there that says STOP on it.
Can I take this opportunity, Don, to, you and I had a conversation late today concerning an individual that's going around town.
Yes, we did. We have a contractor. I've been informed that there was one of the subcontractors working for the contractor who has been doing some soliciting door to door after hours, saying, we'll be coming through here shortly and picking up your debris and off the streets, and if you'd like, for a fee, we'll bring our crews in here after hours and bring your stuff to the curb so that we can pick it up. It's not necessarily anything illegal by the contract, but it's certainly, in my opinion, a conflict of interest and probably not very ethical. We've taken note of that, and in future contracts, we probably will put a clause in there to make sure that that doesn't happen again. But I would remind our citizens, and anybody else who's listening out there, that to do business inside the city limits of Shawnee, you are required to have a business license. And so for the first month or so, we did waive some of those requirements for tree limb contractors because of the emergency situation. We felt like it was a prudent thing to do, but the emergency declaration has expired, so that's no longer in place, and so they do need to register. And so if somebody comes and knocks on your door, we're asking our citizens to make sure that one of the questions that you would want to ask is, are they licensed, bonded, insured, and are they a registered contractor and have a license to do business in the city of Shawnee?
Mr. Lynch, would you also let the people know that the dump sites will be open again?
Yes, well, that's one of the things that we talked about. I know that we've had some calls from some of our citizens who say, I can pick up my limbs out of the backyard. I don't necessarily want to put them out by the street. If I had some place to haul them off, I would take them there. So we're going to open Dockery Park again back up for Saturdays in February, working with our Parks Department to manage that. If you are a citizen of Shawnee, you have a driver's license or a utility bill that proves that you live inside the city limits, we're going to open that back up for you to come down and drop your tree limb debris off, and then we'll, again, have the contractor remove that. So,
And we'll be sending out
and
notices.
we're going to send out notices to the public and just re-verify the whole process again, because I think we need to do some more education with the public just to clarify, because there's a lot of speculation and sometimes some misinformation that's out there. So we're going to put together an informational pamphlet of some sort, either a trifold brochure or something, and mail that out to all of our customers in the utility department. So
Thank
we'll
you.
have that. So thank you.
I'd like to say thank you to Monique with the community service director, a coordinator for Potawatomi County. She sent us a couple of people to the Dunbar Heights community group to help out in the debris cleanup. And we cleaned up a few of the yards. We got the addresses from Don Lynch, and we went over and we cleaned up some yards. And one young man was responsible for cleaning up Farrell Street all the way from Tennessee to Beard. He pulled all the loose limbs and just stacked it all up. Wow. And that's gonna, that corridor is being worked on to beautify it. And so we'd like to say thank you to Monique for sending those workers out, and we really appreciate the help.
Okay, excellent.
Well, I want to thank Tim and his family. Timmy brought his family down there.
Thanks for organizing that and,
Right.
and supervising, because that is part of the issue. I know you can't just have people come out there to say
Show
they're going
up.
to work. You have to organize them and help them where they need to be. So thank you. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Schran. Second by Commissioner Young. Call roll, please.
Schran,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
O'Neill,
All right.
Mills.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Open the meeting for the Shawnee Municipal Authority, February 4, 2008. We have a quorum. Consider approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Young.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schran. Call roll, please.
Young,
Aye.
Schran,
Aye.
O'Neill,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Administrative reports?
None.
New business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Vice Mayor
Second.
Peterson, second by Commissioner O'Neill. Call roll, please.
Peterson,
Aye.
O'Neill,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Stevens,
Aye.
Schran.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Open the meeting for the Shawnee Airport Authority, February 4, 2008. We have a quorum. Consider approval of consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Vice Mayor Peterson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Schran. Call roll, please.
Peterson,
Aye.
Schran,
Aye.
O'Neill,
Aye.
Mills,
Aye.
Young,
Aye.
Holt,
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Thank you. Administrative reports?
Next Monday will be a work session here, 6:30 on the airport.
Okay. All right. New business? Motion to adjourn?
So, uh-oh.
Motion by Commissioner Young, second by Commissioner O'Neill. Call roll, please.
Young.
Aye.
O'Neill.
Aye.
Mills.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Holt.
Aye.
Stevens.
Aye.
Tran.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We are adjourned.
Ta-da.